Welcome everyone to Dash 28 Live. We're bringing you a Call to Arms round 4 match between Elliot Morrish and Ryan Munsell. So the scenario today is push, and we have some great commenters here. We think we're going to have a great battle, but let's jump straight into the lists. So I'll bring up first Elliot's list on the screen, and then Elliot can walk us through what he took today.
I should point out I just waved and then remembered that I don't have my camera on. I'm literally waving at nothing.
Happens to all of us.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm bringing Free Dwarves because I wrote an article saying they were good and then I felt like I had to do it. Now I'm regretting it massively. Because I'm just deploying and then saying I really wish I had my Order of the Green Lady. Every bit's like, oh, this would be good here and this would be good here and I wish I had this. But I don't. I've got Free Dwarves. So I have 2 hordes of shield breakers, both with throwing mastiffs, one with a dwarven ale and one with a chalice of wrath. Because when you're paying all those points for a combat horde, you want it to be able to actually do something. I've got a regiment of Iron Watch rifles, which is a slightly unusual choice. I played a game last night where I took a regiment of ironclad, and they just did nothing all game effectively. And I thought, well, I could get this. I had a few spare points knocking around, so I can get a similar sort of unit that can actually be shooting all game, and it's still got unit strength and another block. So we'll see how that goes. It's probably terrible. 3 troops of Brock Riders and a regiment of Brock Riders with a Brewer Sharpness. 2 Mastiff packs, both with throwing Mastiffs. 2 cannons. I've got Kragoth and Colarm, who I've never used before, but we'll see how that goes. But the idea here is a defend 6 fearless block is probably quite good in push. A Free Dwarf Lord with the Iron Resolve Aura. A Packmaster with the Munchberry Aura, so vicious on the throwing dogs, and the Inspiring Talisman. I absolutely love this guy. He's got effectively a piercing fireball that always hits on 4+ and is vicious. Really nice. And then a Flying Berserker Lord, because who doesn't want a 23-inch charge range? And that's my list.
Very nice.
Great. So that looks good. So now we're going to switch over to Ryan's list. Ryan is having a little audio difficulties, so you don't get to hear his own introduction. So we're going to read his list for him, and he's going to rage. Bringing that up now. Okay. So he is playing Salamanders. And he is starting with a regiment of ancients and then a horde of ceremonial guard with the brew of strength. He has 2 hordes of tyrants, one with the boots of striding, one with the potion of the caterpillar, 2 regiments of ember sprites, a Lachilodon, a Gekata slasher, and then we will jump to the other page, a phoenix, a battle captain on Rhinosaur with the inspiring talisman, a clan lord on Fire Drake with Brew of Sharpness, bringing it back up to normal dragon attacks, and then Artak, I think is the name.
Article.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's annoying, that little bugger.
Great.
I played a game a few weeks ago and totally underestimated him, and he took out half my army. I was using my Twilight Kin and he got behind me, and he just wiped me.
Well, try not to let that happen this game. So we're going to start with Elliot's deployment. If you can walk us through sort of left to right of the screen. Yeah. And tell us, you don't need to tell us you don't have to tell us your whole strategy. But just let us know.
Ryan's gone now, so he can't hear me. Let's do it. So starting left to right. So on left, I've got the Great Earth Elemental. I've got Kolak, I think it's called. Or Kragoth and Kolan. Then I have a troop of Brock Riders, one of the hordes of shield breakers with a cannon sort of behind it. 2 more troops of Brock Riders, some Mastiffs with the Packmaster next to them. And then to the right of the rock, I have a horde of shield breakers with more Mastiffs behind them. The Dwarf Lord, sort of snuggled in between the two there. And I've got a regiment of Ironwatch Rifles with the Berserker Lord next to it, and the cannon next to them. And then the regiment of Brocks with Sharpness. I've put both my tokens on the Greater Earth Elemental on the left-hand side. And then I was actually assuming both Ryan's tokens were going to go on the Ceremonial Guard. So I was thinking we're effectively going to have a big fight over not a lot on the right-hand side, and then a smaller fight over very important tokens on the left. But it doesn't look that way because he's put them on his Ancients.
Yep. Great. And then if you want to walk through Ryan's list as well, unless we can suddenly hear him, which I don't think we can. Cool.
No. Yeah, so there's a battle captain on Rhinosaur on his left with Inspiring. The Horde of the Ceremonial Guard with the Brewer's Strength. Those guys are terrifying. We were just chatting about them, saying that's an incredibly good unit, and then with Brewer's Strength, it just pushes it over into scary territory. A Horde of Ancients, I think that's the Pathfinder one. So not Ancients and Tyrants. With Chaff behind them, with the Embers Rights. Sneaky Chameleon dude, hiding behind there. Behind the Phoenix. Obviously, the Phoenix just lives next to the Ancients, because why don't you want Phoenix next to Defense 6? Ancient Regiment with 2 tokens on him. His Lakelodon. The Guitar Slasher with the other horde of Tyrants. He's got the J-Boots, more Chaff. And yeah, the now fully restored Dragon, but with 15 fireballs.
Okay. So
we're playing all forests and buildings as height 9, just so you know.
Okay, forests and buildings, height 9. Those are, and then the fields and the sort of watery feature.
A 0.
Okay,
both a 0.
Sounds good. So what we are going to do now is we're going to kick you out of the room, and you're going to play as normal. Just what we would ask is that once you're all sort of done, we're going to come back and chat about how the game went. We're going to have permissions in the game so we can check arcs and show everyone what's going on. And then, yeah, so you guys would do scout moves and then roll for first turn.
Sounds good. Right,
thanks so much for letting us play.
Good luck, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, so we've kicked the players out, and now we can talk about them freely. So we have a great match here again between Elliot and Ryan. Elliot playing Free Dwarves and Ryan playing Salamanders. Ryan's at the top of the screen. Elliot is at the bottom attacking up. So yeah, what do you guys think?
So I'm kind of surprised that he said that he thought that the Ceremonial Guard were going to get the tokens. I actually thought the Ancients were a better pick right when I saw the deployment because of the way that the Ceremonial Guard, although they're tough, they're kind of on an island, kind of fighting by themselves. Looks like they both have scout moves.
Yeah, I tackle scouts.
Yep.
Oh yeah, the Ember.
So there's sneaky,
right?
Sneaky Salamander scouting moves. The Free Dwarves actually have a lot of power in, like, they got short legs, but they scout. So we have both the Shield Breakers and Kragoth ready to scout forward.
Yeah, Rangers are typically a very big pick in Free Dwarves. Elliot's list doesn't have any of them, but they also scout.
Yeah, I don't know why he didn't go for Rangers. I mean, I don't. He was on about getting the Ironwatch rifles. I don't know why he's done that. I think they're
because the Ironwatch rifles can't fight, right? So the Rangers would have made much more sense, especially with the way he's deployed them. They've got nothing to shoot at for the first turn because the way that leader point's gonna carry.
Yeah, it's an interesting. I mean, Rangers got a little less points efficient this edition, um, but they're still a pretty strong multi-use unit. Um, he went for the Iron Watch, which will have more effective shooting in terms of damage on high defense targets. But yeah, as we mentioned, they don't fight. They don't fight at all. So we'll see what goes on there.
Well, it's especially interesting because he set them up to be moving in the first turn.
Well, he sort of described it as like they were just a block that he wanted to move around and get in the way and do things. But if they don't do anything all game, they can at least shoot. And that's an
Right.
interesting way of thinking of the unit. Instead of expecting to get shooting out of it and counting on that shooting, he just sort of said they're a nerve block for whatever scenario or whatever thing is happening or to get in the way. And if they happen to find themselves out of the battle, maybe they can shoot. It's an interesting way of looking at a shooting regiment. So
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I just think Rangers end up being better in that role. I wonder how much more expensive the Rangers would be. Maybe he didn't have enough points to get Rangers instead.
They are more expensive, I believe, because they went up in price. I can check that.
It looks like Tom's already flipping.
I'm getting the book out.
Free Dwarf Rangers are 185 for a regiment.
Okay, so there've been another 25 points for him to find, 35 points for him to find.
So
that's not insignificant.
So putting both loot tokens right up the back on the Ragath and Colearm is a really good move. Having the scout ability, being able to move it forward right away is very nice. And also flank denying with the Earth Elemental is surprised me that he did that.
It's also really big and tough, and Ryan didn't really leave a lot of hitting power over there to kind of take him on.
Yeah,
Normally,
it's fairly safe for going to get into the other archers.
Normally, I see people put it the way Ryan does it. Put the loot tokens in the center so you have more units around the center unit to defend it. But this is an interesting way of doing it. There's not much on Ryan's side on that flank, on the left flank. So,
okay, Ryan's taking first turn.
Yeah, so Ryan has opted to take first turn here. What does everyone think about that? What is your personal opinions on first turn, second turn, scenario dependent? Always take first. Like, what do you guys think?
Scenario and list dependent, but usually, especially in stuff like push, where getting to the other side of the board and pushing your enemy back is part of the game. I'd usually go for first turn if I could. Yeah.
So what are we looking for? First of all, does everyone agree on push? It feels like you go first. You take the board space that's available to you. Does anyone have a controversial counter opinion?
No.
it's actually one of those scenarios that I don't like very much because if you go first, you have a great advantage, I think, in this one.
There's a lot of scenarios that are that way. Yeah, and it's kind of funny because like the option for turn 7 is supposed to mitigate going second as being strong, and I think it does too good of a job of it because it ends up being that there's just almost no scenario where going first is bad for you.
Yeah, control is one of the ones where that I really like in that sense. If you go second, pillage is actually really good if you go second because you can, if you have nimble flyers with Pathfinder or nimble flyers in general, you can fly off 20 inches onto an objective, things like that. So some scenarios really favor, I think, going second.
So Ryan's doing movement now. He's pushing some units forward. What do you think he's really trying to establish in this first turn? What are his threats against him, and what are his sort of advantages he can press?
I'd be expecting him to try and push through and smash the center as soon as possible. He's got more weight towards there, and the draw's going to have a much harder time repositioning over there. There's a lot of stuff there that the dwarves don't really have that can take any of his units in one go either. So he's got a fairly safe time if he gets into a grind of going through the shield breaker hard, looking at afterwards, going, now right, there's a troop of Brocks, there's a mastiff troop, there's nothing really that's going to stop him. So I think for him it's going to be key that he can get a multi-charge up on them shield breakers early on and break them.
Yeah, and that's one of the traditional weaknesses of the dwarf list. Not saying it's a weak list, but you have, when you take these big infantry hordes that are incredibly slow, they're big charge targets that you can't do much about. I assume the mastiffs are going to be trying to have a say in that, but who do you think right now is looking like would win that kind of chaff war?
Well, he's got Elliot has Brock troops, which are crucial here because Ryan is looking at his whole battle line is very, very slow. But Elliot has these 3 Brock troops that could go in anywhere they want, and actually they might be quite difficult to take out in one turn too on that kind of charge. So
my issue with that is he's not got a weight of combat there. The only thing he's got that's any real good in combat, a proper combat unit, is the shield breakers. The Brocks on the right side with sharpness, they're good, but they're out of the fight and they're going to get outranged by the clan lord if Ryan feels like it. And on the other hand, those shield breakers are in range of, well, they will be in range of 2 tyrant hordes, the Gekutas Slasher and the Ancients in a turn.
So is this, you don't like his deployment, you don't like his list, you don't like both?
Both. Yeah, both.
Okay.
No offense, Elliot, if you're watching this back, but I'm not.
It's no problem. We don't mean any offense, but part of the fun of this is we get to talk a lot of crap while they're playing, as if we would do everything differently. So he's got those troops. He's got what looks like an overhang on his left flank. This is Elliot I'm talking about. Is it just a case of can he do anything with that flank before he gets his middle/right side beat up and smashed? Or what do we think Elliot's, because he deployed this way, what do we think he's going for right now?
I think the left side's very clear. I'm going to win the scenario. That's what he's thinking. And kills in the right flank aren't quite as important, but he's going to need to win that central objective because I don't see him stopping the Ancients. And I don't see. I mean, he can throw his Brocks onto it to try and claim it turn 1, but they're not going to hold it, so he's going to lose that objective anyway.
I'm apparently getting razzed for ignoring my fans. Hi, everybody. So there you go.
So we talked about jumping on that objective. Does anyone want to sort of go through push, its nuances, like what sort of makes this scenario work for anyone that's watching?
Well, the center is just an objective, right? So the person with the most unit strength in the end is going to control it. The really big thing is the loot markers are worth double, so they're worth 2 points each if they're crossed onto your opponent's half. So that's usually the most important part. For me, I find with if you can grab your opponent's loot or at least keep it on his side of the board, that the center objective doesn't actually matter as much. But it just becomes the center objective becomes more important when it either looks like both are going to get to the opposite side, then it's a fight over the middle. So I just think for the most part, you try and just bottle up your opponent's objectives on their side, get yours over, and if you get the center one, that's kind of an added bonus.
So yeah, if you get a token, if you get one of your push tokens to the other side of the board, they're worth 2 each. The one in the middle is only ever worth 1, right? It's kind of the tiebreaker. So is there any hope for Elliot to stop those Ancients getting to his side of the board? Is that because it doesn't look like it to me.
No.
Yeah, because that's
what
what
damage for them, and then he goes in with the cannons later on.
Push right to the center. it becomes, especially with how slow dwarves are, it's going to be really hard for him to keep the ceremonial guard on the other side of the board. That said, though, ceremonial guard, although they're tough with the defense 6 and inspiring, they're not. It's still a regiment, right? It's what, -18. That said, though, I don't. Yeah, I don't think he's. That said, though, Elliot doesn't really have a lot of punch over there to kind of deal with them, other than just bucket loads of throwing mastiffs. So I don't know
The
how.
individuals are alright for trying to pick it up late game, but the individuals need to be doing everything at the moment.
So Elliot does have a flying berserker that can do some potentially spicy things. He's deployed right now, I believe, behind the forest.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So he's hidden from anyone. He has no dangers. He's probably just going to want to try and jump the line at some point and be annoying or get in between other units. Does he already have a position there? Does he already have a little
got
gap?
a nice off spot right by the house.
Tom or Rashad?
I'd have liked him to have been, well, not behind the woods, so he's got that first turn threat, just to keep some of his stuff, some of Ryan's stuff honest. But yeah, no, both options of getting into that little gap in the house or getting to the right side to force the clan lord to move. They've both got options. If he'd been able to sit that dragon down immediately, that's great, because that dragon will go through the Brock in 2 turns, maybe 1.
Yeah.
So I just saw Ryan put the
threatening the
dual
flank of
sharpness
the,
on that clan lord. That's disgusting.
Yep. Yeah, so it's the clan lord. It almost feels like an auto include, like you click it in an easy army, and it adds the brew of sharpness as well.
Yeah,
you know,
Very
it's 15 attacks on the 3s suddenly makes them like a lot better chance to break regiments or large infantry hordes with just a little bit of support or a tiny bit of shooting them beforehand. When normally dragons can't always go into the front of something. They need a flank or they need heavy support. 15 attacks on 3s is just nasty.
And +2, that's still amazing.
Yep, so
Ryan he's winning the speed battle in a way, because he got first turn not only, but he's also just a tad bit faster, even though his army isn't very fast, and he's got the clan lord to control a little bit. But I really do want to see what those berserker regiments and the berserker troops in the center are going to do. I really wonder what's going to happen there.
Yep. So salamanders never leave home without at least a little bit of shooting. So they're starting off on firing on the shield breakers with, I think, is that what actually went in there and shot them?
I think that's a Lycodon.
5 shots.
Does a slasher have the shooting upgrade? He does. He has the sharp stick thrower too.
Yep.
Oh, it's a 6/6 waiver, turn 1.
Oh, that's a little unfortunate.
Yeah, especially since they don't have headstrong, right? So
yeah, these are the free dwarves. So they left headstrong at home for Pathfinder, and now they are caught in the middle of the open and wavered. So take that, free dwarves.
Yeah, he's gonna have to just back them up 2 inches immediately, I think.
oh no, he bought them the headstrong upgrade. That's the one that headstrong upgrade. The item.
You have 12 Elliot.
Oh yeah, he's got headstrong. Huh. Wow.
Yeah. All part of the plan. Roll double 6s and waver me, please. So hopefully they hit headstrong, and he's able to move them.
Right, Elliot's turn 1 then.
Yeah. So I'm going to flip over. We are now in the bottom of turn 1. It's headed over to Elliot. There was a little shooting that put 4 wounds at the end of the turn on the shield breakers in the middle right and wavered them. And now Elliot's going to have to sort of respond to that and respond to this rapidly advancing salamander horde in front of him. So besides,
I still think
go
it's
on.
better off using that wavered horde to, well, you can roll headstrong if you like, but just to back up, move the Iron Watch up to cover the flank from the Clan Lord, and then just stay there, and then you're still out of range of both the Tyrant Hordes, and that's buys you a turn. Otherwise, he's getting charged next turn, and it's probably going to die.
And that feels like the whole plan on the right here is just kind of buy time. And but do we think there's enough going on good for him on his left flank that buying time is ultimately going to pay off?
If you start swinging the Brock troops around to the right to start throwing them in and threaten some flanks, hopefully if he uses the shield breakers as like a lure to pull everything in towards the center, then that's going to open up flanks, and Ryan's not going to be able to stop it. It's going to come down a lot to the individuals as well if they can get into the decent fights, because obviously that defense 6 dwarf, he's not really going to go anywhere. There's nothing on the Salamander side that's going through him in one go. Same with the Brock Lord.
And then we have, I believe it's the Tyrants that have taken up this position in the woods in the middle of the screen, middle center. I think each of the Tyrants had some kind of Pathfinder or Strider item.
Yep.
So it's a strong position to be sitting in woods with that item and know that the Brocks are not going to want to charge you because of that. However, the Shield Breaker Horde that is coming around the side, these are free dwarves. They each get Pathfinder as well. So they're not, and we have cannons that each have line of sight on them, I think. So what is the target? What would be your target for those cannons?
The Tyrants, I think.
Yeah.
It's got to be. Well, most of the other stuff that you'd want to shoot at, say the Ancients with the objective, their infantry is going to struggle to pick them out. And the monsters, and you can't get both cannons to bear on them, so you might as well concentrate your fire. So, yeah, Tyrants are easy to hurt.
Hills are height 3, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So
The cannons
Tyrant,
can both see that Tyrant unit.
so only basically none of them is actually able to shoot that Tyrant Horde, right? I'm sorry, I'm looking at the ceremonial graph. My apologies. That one's height 2.
Oh, so we already have a charge. The Brock Rider troop is throwing themselves forward.
Are the Brock Riders height 3? Did that just block off the Tyrants as a target for the one cannon?
No,
Oh no,
he's still got
right? Yeah, I can
Yeah, he's got a little corner there.
Yeah, should cannons ignore cover?
Yeah.
They should. It's a big honking cannonball.
And they are expensive.
So what's the sort of panel's opinion on the Dwarven war machines? So ignoring the sort of Goblin war machines and Abyssal, are they balanced? Are they useless? Are they like what's everyone's opinion?
I mean, they're all right out there. They're all right. I think there's a lot to be said for being Defense 5 and with the amount of nerf they get. I always used to compare last edition my Halfling volley guns to Dwarf ones, which for the exact same points got an extra defense, nerve, and headstrong. I was thinking, doesn't really seem fair. Obviously, there is a points difference now at least, but
yeah, you got a discount on them in this edition.
Yeah,
So.
something to be said for the sturdiness of them, especially if you throw individuals in.
And that's something that looks less likely to come up in this game, possible from the Rhinosaur, but I have found many a dwarf war machine charged, hit, and that defense 5 and nerve just bounces whatever off of it, and the rest of your battery or some other unit comes in and takes it out. And they're not the pushovers they are in some of the other armies, so, especially if deployed in terrain. But
I don't think in this list the war machines are particularly bad, but if you combine them with more war machines and more shooting, it can be very difficult to counter, I think, specific lists. But I mean, they're low in shots and high in piercing, so they're not effective against every army.
I think he has the targets he wants right now. I mean, if they just keep blasting away, that tyrant unit is tall enough to be seen. It's in cover where it's trying to sit and be difficult and prevent sort of flanks on the rest of the army. If he can start putting wounds on them, I think he's feeling good. Do we think the Brock troop goes through the Ember Sprites in one round?
Probably
Is that-
not.
I actually think it's better for him if they don't.
Yeah,
Especially not hindered.
Tyrants.
They're definitely
So why?
hindered.
Yeah, that makes sense. But explain for those of us that are less tactical geniuses than you, what is great about them not breaking those Ember Sprites?
Well, I
and
wouldn't
just sitting
call
there?
myself a tactical genius, but the reason being is it just pins the tyrants a little bit, or at least reduces where the tyrants can go. Not to mention it, the sprites aren't going to kill those Brocks back, which means that he would have to probably commit another unit to it. The tyrants could double charge in, I guess, with the Ember Sprites then. But then that's pulling those tyrants forward to be in a position to be charged in return, right? So, they failed a headstrong. That's excellent. So he's
Well,
just like
He's
Tom
doing what I
said.
said. Good job. He's pulling them back.
The other issue is that Phoenix has Radiance of Life and Heal 5. I don't know if he has another source of healing.
No, it's just
But
that.
yeah, that's a good amount.
Should he shoot the Phoenix? Oh, I can't see it yet.
Yeah.
No,
It's got regen. It's not worth it.
no, but whatever he shoots, there's a good chance half of the wounds at least are going to come back if he doesn't kill it.
Yeah.
Well, probably more because he's probably going to hit maybe one or two times with that cannon for maybe like 4 or 5 hits. That's going to barely put a dent in it.
Both cannons
So-
shoot, right?
So what we were saying earlier about how those Brocks went into the Ember Sprites, the Ember Sprites can't probably kill them back, which means something else has to commit. That's one of the tricky things that a dwarf list can do with its sort of chaff or its sort of lighter units, because they have such short charge range. You basically use a unit thrown into the front of the enemy as a magnet. Other units charge it, and that gets them closer to your lines, which allows you to charge. Not even in like an advantageous position or anything. It's just a way to bring things closer to you so that you can get in. And we'll see if that sort of thing ends up happening here.
So Elliot was just checking to make sure that there was nowhere for a flyer to fit in the flank of those shield breakers.
Yeah.
Which is a good, strong play.
The Ember Sprites are also, I think, only height 1, so that Tyrant's Horde is going to definitely mow through the Brock troop, but that's what they have to charge now. So
Yeah.
Right, and then they get something else charging them in return. It looks like.
The
Is
next
there-
Brock troop's in range? Yeah.
Is that what we think is a good plan for that? Just throwing Brock troops into the front?
No, not
Well, to be
really.
honest,
There-
I would expect him to try and draw the tyrants out so he could throw mastiffs at them first, at least and foremost.
So it
They're
looks to
only
me
Or
he's trying to, right now, that Brock regiment on the left flank that's underneath that tape measure, he'll use that again as chaff for another turn to try to get his Kragath across and maybe only fight the battle captain on Rhino and try to keep chaffing off that Ceremonial Guard horde. Maybe that's his tactic. Because the fight he'll lose probably. The
well,
one-on-one
it's
fight.
good because it what you're talking about is exactly right there. By positioning the Brocks there, the battle captain has to either charge and commit to something or just get charged by the Brocks next turn, right? So it's forcing a decision out of Ryan, which plays, I think, a little bit to the way Elliot's got kind of an MSU multiple small unit list that has a lot of drops. So I don't know.
I mean, I'm with Tom a little bit on the list. I don't know if this is like the best like dwarf list I've seen, or for this scenario particularly. I don't know if it's the best, but I don't dislike his tactic of putting his tokens on the left and then throwing chaff at the strong units that he can't really beat in combat one-on-one. He needs 2 or 3 turns with multiple units to kill it,
Well,
if he can kill it.
the ceremonial guard unit is the only thing that can even threaten Kragoth on that one flank.
The
So
other issue is he's got so much heal built into that Phoenix so that's like a heal 7 basically, right? You have an automatic heal on that unit should he attack it. If he attacks the ceremonial guard and doesn't kill it, to heal 3 or 4 wounds back in this game is huge, because it's not like Elliot's got these huge hammers to go through a unit like that in 1 turn, or even maybe through 2 turns.
well, Elliot kind of alluded to it a little bit when he was talking about how he's kind of regretting already taking this list. And I think it's looking at what's against him and how, Elliot's list is all about the grind, but then so is Ryan's. But I think Ryan's elite grind list here just does it better.
And Ryan typically gives you really bad options. I mean, look at how he deployed that Ancients regiment in the center, off to the center by the forest. How it's just slightly behind that fence so that whatever it charges, most likely is going to be hindered. He's very good at using these. And look at it, he doesn't have multiples. He's not running 3 Liquidodons or anything. He's actually utilizing a lot of different type units. I've played Ryan quite a bit. I haven't played his Salamanders, but he's very, very good at giving you bad charges into units and then outgrinding you over time. He does that very, very well.
Although he usually does that with an effective amount of chaff, and I feel like the chaff he's got in this list is pretty low.
Well, if you count the Ember Sprites and the Liquidodon, because the Liquidodon could also jump in front of stuff.
Yeah, and it does occasionally, but that's still only 3 units of chaff.
Yeah, he doesn't have much.
Compared to like Elliot's, like 6 units of chaff.
Even the rifles, I mean, could be chaff, right? But yeah, he's got a lot. He's got more.
On that note, I'm going to go get another beer. I'll be right back.
And on the left flank, Elliot with all the procs, he's sort of like dominating what's happening anyway right now. It's interesting, and I wonder what's going to happen if the Brock Rider regiment in the center also is in charge range of the Ceremonial Guard. I wouldn't be surprised if he double charges that horde with both Brock Riders and then moves up the Shield Breakers. Could be an interesting move. There's all sorts of things he could do there. Mastiffs are there still too.
That's a nice 9 hits there with and he's forgotten there isn't any cover, so that's his fault.
Said again, he had 9 hits.
Yeah, he got 9 hits. Obviously, the Kragoth's height 6, so he's a Titan. Oh, wait, and he's remembered, and it was all a crap roll anyway. There we go. came back around to just under average, despite getting 9 out of 10 hits.
Yeah, that's always that. I get really excited when I see the hits, and then it's the wounds that matter.
Visibly Riley misconstruing things that have been said, as he always does. Ryan is very, very good at grinding. Rashad 2020. He's quoting you, Rashad.
Well, Riley always got something to say. I miss him.
Okay, so he put 5 damage onto the Ceremonial Guard, it looks like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's 2 sets of dogs.
I know that's a direct quote, Riley, but that's not what he meant, and you know it.
You're Riley.
Okay. So now we are looking at other shooting. We have the cannon.
Mhm.
It looks like it's trying to trace a line on the ancients.
Ceremonial. Yeah, the ancients. Yeah.
I'd rather have put, well, he missed anyway, but I'd rather put bow shots into the tyrants, to be honest.
All right, Matt.
No.
I am drinking a gin and lime pilsner from Fuggles and Warlock, which is a local brewery here. It's delicious. It's like a gin and tonic in a beer can.
So it looked like he missed with all the cannons, right? Both cannon shots.
Yep. Missed both of them.
Matt wants to know what you're drinking, Rashad.
19 Crimes Cabernet Sauvignon 2018. Nice. Salute.
Riley, if you come on over, I will share.
Why is Riley not on joining us?
He doesn't have a camera, and he responded to my message too late.
Okay, so the Brocks went into the Ember Sprites. It looks like they did 3 damage.
He's an 8.
8.
That is not an 8.
Riley, I was also working when I sent you that message.
Yeah, so they're fine. As we sort of thought, we'll see what happens next. That 5 damage on the ceremonial guard, I feel like, not to overplay it, but that feels substantial. That feels like that's getting them closer to danger, multi-charge.
We'll see how the shooting phase goes, though, right?
Yeah.
Because that likely is only going to be 2 on them by the end of it, right?
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
Phoenix still to come.
About
That's why if it'd have been really good if those cannons actually hit. If you'd put them both on tyrants, he'd have got 4 or 5 damage on the tyrants. He's picking the target. Some damage is going to stick.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he rolled a bit crap. But
what do you guys think of the changes to the Phoenix that not inspiring anymore, particularly?
I love it. I hate that thing. The actual issue is that Samicus is the exact same points, better in every single way, and is an auto include. So you've made the Phoenix completely redundant in Brazilian lists. That's the issue. That's because Samicus is still about 30 points too cheap, and we managed to get a little bit more expensive in play testing. Because she was even
Samicus has
cheaper.
height issues, don't know, a little bit in comparison to the Phoenix. Samicus has height issues sometimes, I notice with that.
Yeah,
One
height 10
thing
nimble.
before.
Sorry,
Yeah.
speed 10 nimble. Though. You're not usually, semi-clever playing should be all right. I think that's literally the only advantage Phoenix has.
Jeremy used it the other day in a game, and it felt like it. Samicus is really nice, but I almost wish it was counted as a monster, or I'm sorry, as a Titan. It's just the height would be very, very nice. It's kind of crucial in the abilities that model has.
So I like this play over on the right flank because when he beats up that Brock unit with the clan lord there, those Ember Sprites actually become just built-in chaff for that clan lord after they pivot.
Yeah, this is sort of a move that can happen, which is when you double charge, you always, if you're expecting to win the combat, or even if you get a little lucky, you want to look at how they're going to be able to reform right after. And with these 2 sort of unit shapes, you can turn back towards the inside, and the Ember Sprite just kind of is standing right there in front of you, blocking your whole frontage.
Oh, now he's thinking about just coming in alone.
Yeah, he's redoing it. He was taking the Ember Sprites in so that the dragon isn't hindered, but he's realizing that he's going to not be hindered anyway. I think he's going to look at that comment and say, I'm going to kill that Brock Rider regiment over 2 turns most likely, but I'm going to kill it.
It puts it in charge range of the Mastiff Pack, though, right? I guess maybe there's a place he can pivot there to be out. Because that center line's going to be able to see a part of the clan lord, right?
Yeah, no, they'll be able to charge him. I like these sprites going in there because they might get an extra damage, and when you're looking at an average of 10 damage from the clan lord, that 1 extra puts on a 7 to break without inspiring.
Actually, it's only going to get about 10 hits, right? So it's not actually, probably more like 8 wounds.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he doesn't have you can't buy fire effigies on that, can you?
Yeah, he can't have the effigy of fire.
Ah.
It's hard to see, but it's a 50-50 on whether or not he can actually see that clan lord with the mastiffs because of that forest.
How about we zoom in and check?
I think he can.
On where?
Bottom right flank, so like right underneath the forest, there's a mastiff pack. That mastiff pack it's I like where it's facing. I just don't know because of the forest if it can see that dragon.
I think you'd be able to get a line from to hit, because all you have to do is see it at all. It doesn't have to be in the same arc. So
It has
I
to be
think
from
you
the
could
leader
draw a
point.
line to get that back corner.
It has to be from leader point to base. So
Yes.
we would have to check at the bottom of the forest.
So in the center, he has charged with the tyrants and the ember sprites as a countercharge to really just those tyrants should clean up that Brock unit, blow them up, and then we'll see what happens next. The shield breakers will not be in range to sort of counter. It looks like is that the slasher?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's a proxy for it, so he's trying to see where it's going to end up and what that would leave. It looks like it'd be just in for the shield breaker unit. Yeah,
Yep.
just in.
Yeah, Justin.
So Ryan's considering some charges, what he can get into safely without sort of reprisal, since the battle lines are in charge range for some of the salamander units, but not for stumpy dwarves necessarily.
Take it.
I'd like to see the
thing-
Brock Riders on the right pivot a little bit more to force the Clan Lord to be hindered or to force the sprites to go in with him to stop him being hindered. Because I mean, if he had gone in hindered, obviously he wouldn't do that. But he just commits the sprites rather than what's happened now, where the sprites have taken their opportunity to chaff up a unit which really does not want to be chaffed.
Yeah, and that's sort of what they are there for. To throw themselves sacrificially in front of a giant horde and take the damage.
One
So the
thing
clan lord.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go on. No, go on.
I was gonna say one thing that I like is I'm sorry I missed that earlier. What did he shoot into the Ember Sprite regiment?
He didn't shoot at them.
No.
Oh, it was the Brock Riders who did the damage.
Yeah.
That's what it was. So he shot both. He shot everything into the Ceremonial Guard. Yeah, it's interesting. So Ryan has to decide who's going to heal right now, and obviously he's going to heal the Ceremonial Guard. And those 3 wounds on that Ember Sprite regiment will be 2 wounds in a second. Might do a big difference if he chooses to use a Mastiff on them, because he's got, I think, only one. How many does he have on that side? I like how he marked it. He's got 1 over there on the Mastiff pack.
Yeah. This Mastiff pack down at the bottom, it didn't use its throwing Mastiffs, did it? No, there's a token right there. It's right behind the unit.
Underneath it, yeah.
He's really on it, yeah. Yeah, I didn't think there'd be anything for him to shoot at with it there, so.
So it feels like, at least from my initial, we're at the top of 2. We already have, charges coming in. We think the clan lord is going to just try and grind down those Brocks. Even if it can see is a flank charge from those Mastiffs, very scary to that clan lord, hindered.
It's more damage. I think you'd be looking at the Berserker Lord going in as well. So you've got, it's a wave of attacks. Is the regiment, the little troop, and the.
So as Riley points out, there's also the Packmaster over here who has like a a renewable throwing Mastiff every turn. Although I think depending on how many wounds stick on the ceremonial guard, he probably has to keep grinding on that unit as much as he'd like to throw some into the tyrants at this point. Although the downside of the ceremonial guard is he can't, this back cannon down here can't see that ceremonial guard unit. So it's kind of like, what does that guy shoot at, right?
Tyrants or the ancients.
Pretty much. But if he's just going to fire at tyrants with one cannon, he's going to do maybe 1 or 2 wounds, and then the Radiance of Life just basically heals that off.
Both cannons.
Better off focusing fire.
Yeah, both cannons shoot at the same target, right?
Yeah.
Like he has, and the law of odds, right? He has to hit with both now since he missed with both. That's
But then
just
that begs
how
the
cannons
question.
work.
That begs the question why he didn't shoot at the tyrants to begin with in the first turn.
Yeah,
He did. He just missed, right?
No, he didn't. He fired at the.
No, he fired at the ancients and
With the
the
cannon?
ceremonial guard. He didn't really fire at the tyrants at all.
No. And that's because his deployment looked like it was set up to shoot specifically at them tyrants because the infantry were obviously using the heights as such. The tyrants weren't going to be able to hide. So it looked like that's what he was stepping. He put them there to do because I wasn't too happy with the deployment of them cannons because it did seem like he'd limited himself to that option and they didn't take it.
So the question now, it feels like Elliot's on the back foot here. He's getting stuff charged in his own almost deployment zone in some areas. We're looking at what Ryan's doing now. What can Elliot start to do to try and turn this around? Or what is he hoping for in these combats that are about to happen? I mean, besides obviously hoping the shield breakers don't get wavered again and fail a headstrong.
Well, you've got, if you look at that central Brock troop, it's just got arc on that Lakelidon. So if that takes a charge on the Lakelidon, it can get in there. If it kills it, it might be able to maneuver. So he's just at a range of both the Tyrant Horde and the Ancient Regiment, and that's obviously a troop of fairly fighty chaff right in your rear lines immediately. So that'd be a good move if he's got the space.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they could actually pivot to get out of the arc of that tyrant unit up on the right if they do that?
I think you can. You'd have to do it, but again with the
I'm
tyrants,
just wondering if those blocks
the tyrants have got target saturation here between the Shieldbreaker Horde, which will obviously, well, you'd expect to kill the sprites, the Berserker Regiment as well, and depending on how that fight goes with the Clan Lords, so it might not be a bad option in either case, because at least if he's charging the troop, he's not going after the other big hitters, so it'll force him to commit to it. But
see, I was thinking maybe going into that stealthy character and then bouncing into the ancients.
it won't kill him. That attack goes hard as hell.
Is he pretty tough?
Oh, he's ridiculous, yeah. I think it's defense 5-13-14.
Defense 4, 11, 13. I'm looking at it. He's actually pretty easy.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Because that could be a bounce into the ancients, right? The ancients, the beauty of the ancients is for him, right, is that for the Brox's case, right, they're dash 15, defense 4. The ancients aren't particularly hitty because they've only got the 12 attacks on 3s.
Yeah, I was thinking about tackling the second edition where he had all the rules. Like he was fearless 14, defense 5 or something daft like that for like 140 points or something ridiculous. It's not a bad option. Yeah.
Okay, so they can take that option in the middle potentially. There's a couple things for those Brocks that puts them in a more dangerous position and starts to open up charges and counter charges for the shield breakers in the middle. It feels more and more like those shield breakers and the elemental on the far left really need to carry. Like this army felt like that already, but they need to do, it looks like, almost all the killing that's going to happen on this board for Elliot. So protecting them is a massive task because they're only defense 4, and making sure when they hit, they clear stuff out. So what's going to happen over here with the elemental against the rhinosaur sort of battle captain?
The interesting one, because it looks like he's just trying to dance around with the battle captain there.
Yeah, Elliot, for some reason, I'd have expected the Krakow to come up the full distance so he could then threaten the ceremonial guard, because he did have the range to be in range to charge in the turn after if they stay where they are. And I don't think he's going to stop a nimble battle captain from getting out of his arc anyway. So I'd have liked to see him go all the way up and shoot the ceremonial guard as well as the dogs, and then threaten them, because he wasn't going to stop the battle captain, I don't think. Well, he hasn't.
Oh, we'll see how much healing happens here. 3, so it gets down to 2. Actually, down to 1. Holy cow! So so now that whole shooting phase was pretty much wasted.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So you were talking more about how Krakow should have just pushed forward, and that's something I always think that's interesting for newer players and sometimes experienced players. Is it feels bad knowing that you're going to get encircled by a unit, but if you make the determination it can't be prevented, and you just push forward to another objective and sort of ignore them for the moment, it's way better than trying to respond to the fast, nimble thing that's zipping around you. Just getting forward and threatening. So now we have shooting in the middle, it looks like.
Yeah, it looks like he just did the nerve and failed to break those Brocks.
Okay. And that was the Lachilodon and Slasher shooting it, or just the Lachilodon, right?
Both.
Tackle.
And
tackle. Ooh, there you go. 8. That's about right. And doesn't.
Which is about what we thought, and then they didn't break.
Okay. So now
sprites do nothing.
The thing with the Brocks though is that now their Thunder is stripped too, so that's.
Yeah, they're only Thunder's 1 though, so it's not like it's a big deal. It's not really a major part of their stick.
Yeah.
Being
sharpness on them. Yeah.
Yes.
Sharpness might be okay because hitting on 3s with that many attacks and volume. But I don't know. Yeah, that's still rough.
Yeah, I like sharpness on the Brocks. Brocks are one of those units that you sort of put anything on them and it's probably useful. But sharpness on them, you're paying the regiment fee instead of the horde fee. Hitting on 3s with 26 attacks is great. If you could throw a Bane Chant on them, it feels even better. But this list is a little Bane Chant light. So
yeah, I like the Bane Chant.
And they need a massive pack in front of them as chaff, so that they don't get charged by dragons.
So as expected, the Tyrant Horde in the middle, plus the Ember Sprites, picked up the troop of Brock Riders and droopied them back and forth before throwing their corpses back into the woods, and are now sort of clear to reform and do what they need to do.
There's not much you can do. Well, I guess you can reform a little bit because the parallel at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, and the Ember Sprites can kind of they can do a bad reform to give the Tyrants a good one, or vice versa.
The Tyrants backed up.
Okay.
So what do you guys think? Was it worth for him to throw that regiment away?
The troop, you mean? The troop?
I mean, Elliot's turn earlier, he put that... I'm sorry, yeah, the troop, that's what I mean here. The troop of Brock Riders.
I don't mind it. They're 125 points, and it's kind of held him back from crossing the center line for a turn on the whole line. That's actually a pretty good bargain for 125 points, in my opinion.
For me, it always depends on what he is gaining out of that time. What to sort of shoving that in the Tyrant's face and making them stay in the forest for another turn. what is that earning him? Another turn to get into position with the shield breakers without being destroyed, because I assume he's going to chaff those tyrants up again this round and
Forgot that
do
fight.
something else. What's that, Tom?
Forgot the fight with the Gecko Slasher. That's what they're doing.
Yeah. So it did 5 damage.
And didn't do anything there.
Yep. Dwarf nerve is solid. 4 damage. But now he's got a slasher engaged with a unit that wants nothing to do with fighting. You know, maybe just having an ironclad regiment would have been better.
Yeah.
Or Rangers that can do both. But as we already mentioned, it's finding the 35 points.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even just finding the 35 points. If we're looking at it being an upgrade on ironclads, it's finding a lot of points.
So it looks like here the shield breakers are already trying to figure out what they're going to do when they kill these Ember Sprites.
Mm-hmm.
The Dwarf Lord is mighty, so it looks like he's just trying to get in a position to prevent a double charge, maybe? Just don't see how that's going to work out for it the way he's expecting.
Yeah, it's just looking to prevent a flank charge, isn't it?
From the tyrants, yeah.
And the slasher.
Well,
right.
I don't think you can prevent both is the problem. Well, you're oh yeah, right, because the Iron Watch rifles will still be there for a turn.
They're not dead yet. But yeah, it's sort of, and that's the great thing about the sort of mighty dwarf lord is a lot of times shoving a individual in that position next to your flank. It's just basically giving them a free overrun into your flank. The defense 6 dwarf lord is like that special case where you're like, oh wait, actually no, he will stick for a round.
Yeah.
Against a lot of stuff, not everything, but a lot of stuff.
And what he's doing is quite smart as well. He's covering the flank while also not letting the Dwarf Lord be seen by the tyrants. It means the Dwarf Lord can't then be charged.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So he's taking that threat away of.
Because he'll stop. Yeah, he'll stop a slasher. I don't know that he would stop both or the tyrants on its own. So, what do we think is going to charge into the Clan Lord? Everything that can see it.
Yeah, they both have it. It's just the Brox and the Berserker Lord.
Yeah, because the Mastiffs are nimble, right? So, yeah, there comes the Berserker Lord. Does he bring the Mastiffs in too for the triple whammy?
Can't.
Or can the Mastiffs see them right now because of the Brock?
He had the stick out earlier.
Yeah, and he could?
He couldn't see him.
Oh, okay.
So those Mastiffs are kind of just hanging out. Their job was to. Well, I'm not sure what their original job was, but they seem to have repositioned to get over there and help out, and they're stuck. So
he's done a good move, pushing the Berserker Brock troop up onto the hill, and just
Yep.
out of arc of the ceremonial guard. That means they're going to have to respond because obviously they're in a flank with Thunderous 2 now. They'd be pretty tasty.
Yeah, he's outside of the arc.
Yeah, he's out. That's a good move, that.
Yeah.
And that's something you always have to be careful when a unit is positioned to not be pointing straight at you, but slightly off center or very off center, that they can do that, move straight forward and pivot to be around your flank.
That was a very impressive move.
I think he's going to go for...
he's shooting everything at the tyrants this turn. Oh no, is he charging? He's charging in there. Interesting. Interesting.
That should have fairly effectively held the Ember Sprite Regiment in place as well.
That's the...
Just off from chaffing the shield breakers.
And that was my question: is if we can zoom in the middle a little, just to see. It looks like has he prevented that? It looks like he's prevented a charge on the shield breakers from the Ember Sprites, right?
Yeah, I don't think there's enough gap here.
Because that's really useful, because that allows the shield breakers to push forward, get in a position to charge whatever survives, and the Ember Sprites are stuck. Yeah, just get them up there.
Well, my guess is the Packmaster's going to throw a couple of dogs at him too. At the Ember Sprites.
Yeah.
Everything else there is up.
That'd be great for Elliot if they could just pop those Ember Sprites and get them out of the equation. There is still a Phoenix.
Yeah.
Don't know.
My log movement was up. How far did he move the shield breakers in the center right now?
5.7.
Could he go closer to the Brocs?
He could, but I don't know if he wants to.
He wants to because they're going to die. They have 5 wounds on them. They're going to die for sure. He wants to be closer so that actually he doesn't have
room to pivot, keep both front.
Yeah.
The Ceremonial Guard horde is going to kill that troop for sure, unless he double ones it. And so he wants to minimize how much he can reform after he kills that unit.
He would have enough. I think he would have enough reform. If you check the arc on the Ceremonial Guard. Dan.
What?
Check the arc on the Ceremonial Guard in the middle. It looks like he could, even if it was backed right up to those Brock Riders, I think he would have enough to pivot to get that over the center line.
You still get both front, yeah.
Yeah, double front.
Although I don't know if, as it is though, the triple charge on those Ceremonial Guard with the Shield Breakers, Brocks, and Kragoth might still be enough.
Well,
that'll be interesting.
See. So the Ceremonial Guard are defense 5, 21, 23. Are they inspired by anyone, or
no, they're not.
Nobody right now.
So unless the battle captain comes back,
I don't think
he does have the inspiring talisman.
He's nimble, but he's not able to march and like he could double pivot and move 7. I don't think that gets within 6.
Yep. So there's a chance there. What, 25 attacks from the shield breakers? It's hitting 16-ish times or something, right?
Are they 4+? They're 4+, right?
To hit?
Yeah, 4+ to hit. Oh,
no, they're 3+.
Oh, they are.
Yeah, they went down in crushing and up in melee. So they brought smaller, more effective, more easily wielded hammers apparently this time.
3s and 4s. So what? 9 wounds. And Kragoth does probably another 6. Berserkers with Crush 2 probably do. They hit what, 7? Another 3.
It's dicey.
Yeah, it gets really dicey. That's what, needing about a 9.
And you can see now. Oh yeah, Ryan's list struggles for inspiring that can really get to where it needs to be because the battle captain wants to.
There the embers go.
Yeah, the clan Lord wants to do the same thing, and it leaves the ancients. So that entire center of the board is nearly all out inspiring.
No, the ancients inspire, right? So
yeah, we talked about that.
That's center. And by having you're right, by having the fast movers kind of go off on their own, they're really abandoning that line.
That's a classic like inspiring fighting characters problem that you always have, which is like back even to the Warhammer days of like I have this wonderful inspiring dragon and then it just takes off on its own and all the troops are left behind. So he blew up the Ember Sprites, And now have the cannon shot. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
we
shot.
did some blink damage on the Ancients and the Lachelodon.
Okay.
Oh, that was pretty big. That wasn't bad. 8 wounds.
That was terrible, though. 2 hits from the
Yeah,
melee 3 Berserker Lord.
and
And
Vicious
nothing.
did nothing.
Wow.
Terrible.
That was a good start. Sad finish. Wah, wah.
No, but like in UB Dice's defense, that's something that could happen on 76, right? Like
It is,
so
yeah. Oh,
not
totally.
bad.
It's happened to me too in games. It just seems to be, it's easier to see when gives you a count of how many 3+s you've got.
Shout out to Page Neo's battle reports, taking count how far you're off the rolls.
The UB, the guy who made it did say that there is something up with the app and he's not quite sure what it is. So I think there is a little bit to it.
Looks like he's saving the. So yeah, he was saving this one for last. I'm really interested to see. So we already know where he's going to pivot to when he basically wins the combat here. He's already kind of decided because he placed his Dwarf Lord there. I'm interested to see how Ryan responds to that, because actually that puts them in a pretty strong spot, but in a strong spot that's actually straddling an obstacle. Does Ryan kind of hold back for a turn while he repositions and forces him to come out, getting a hindered charge, or yeah, he's just making sure there's nothing but corner to corner there. Yeah.
I like Elliot's way of measuring there and stuff. Pretty good.
There's some real big perks to the way that UB does some things, and being able to like place proxy markers down is one of its big strengths, in my opinion.
Okay, so we are the end of turn 2. We are rolling into the top of turn 3. I already feel like there's been a fair amount of engagement and action already, just in 3 turns for 2 kind of slow armies. It's it's interesting to see. Okay, so what does Ryan need to do now? Ryan, I mean, I think that dragon reliably is now taking out the Brock Riders, right?
Yeah.
They can pretty much count on that. It is now in a corner behind a wood, but it's not the worst thing in the world to have your dragon survive the fight and be ready to re-enter combat. Those tyrants don't have arc on the Berserker Lord, right?
No, they didn't. On the Berserker Lord, no.
Yeah.
No, they don't.
Okay.
So they're going to join the fun with the Iron Watch rifles.
Yeah. Come on in, take your free reform. So is that the Pathfinder unit or the J-Boots unit?
That's J-Boots. But my guess is he's not going to burn Pathfinder there. Yeah, he's hindered.
So he's saying, I don't need it.
I don't blame him. I wouldn't either.
So the tyrants do have orbs.
Into that
The tyrants
guard unit.
What's that?
That Brock's only ended up doing 1 wound to that ceremonial guard unit. So now it's meaningless.
They rolled terrible. And that unit can be back down to 0 with the Phoenix.
Yeah, hitting on force is really not that great on that many attacks still.
So Riley's saying that Ryan should just back up with that ceremonial guard unit. That may actually, and I agree with him, because it may actually bring Kragoth out of range. And it makes it very difficult with, because it actually makes the shield breakers not be able to see the ceremonial guard, because they're kind of blocked by their own Brock unit.
Yeah. I think it might still leave the troop on the left in the flank, though. which is why I don't think he can do that.
It'd be because he gets his yeah, because it's only 3 inches, right?
Two and a
Yeah,
half.
2.5 plus the 1 inch withdrawal, so
Oh,
3.5.
yeah.
That actually might be enough.
Might be.
So the thing with the ceremonial guard is, even if they take the charge from Kragath, the shield breakers, and the berserkers, because they have failings, they have a good chance they'll survive that as well, because the Rock Rider attacks are going to be diminished by that quite a bit, because they're hitting on 4s already. It's going to be 5s. So it's really just Kragath and the shield breakers attacking if he is able to make them all just charge the front.
Yeah, phalanx becomes relevant every once in a while.
Yeah,
It's great.
it's amazing on defense 5. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot they had that. That actually means the hill is meaningless to them.
That's why I'm thinking, had he moved a little bit further forward, but Riley's right. He can just move backward with the ceremonial guard, literally just not attack even, and just take the charge. But I think he also wants to delete that Brock Rider troop. He needs to get rid of it, and he's going to get charged by that battery no matter what. So he's going to kill it and move backward. He has to roll a d3, where he can choose to disengage and move backward, where he can get maybe, what is this?
Do the
Yeah.
shield breakers have arc on the tyrants in the middle?
Yeah.
Yes.
So if he, scoots back out of dodge, is he opening himself up to a charge towards the tyrants?
Yes.
Good question.
I think so.
Mhm.
Because those Brocks could just charge right back in on those ceremonial guard, right? So
And I kind of like the shield breakers on the tyrants more than I do on the ceremonial guard in terms of chances at breaking something. If he can get anything else in there on them.
yeah, totally. Because they're only defense 4-18, right? So
3s and 3s.
yeah. Well, oh yeah, because they're Pathfinder. That's right.
Pathfinder.
Yeah.
3 dwarves.
17.
Yeah.
So that's it's something to consider. I'm not sure it works quite because of the size of these hordes and that stuff, but it would be interesting if the backing up opened up that extra, or he just stays here and he takes the charges to the front with a pivot. We'll see.
Yeah.
And it puts him in a decent place to pick up the center objective as well, then.
Yeah.
Bouncing
You
those.
back up to the front of the ceremonial guard and leave him there all game. You're all right.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to be tanking there for a while, right? Just with that Phoenix backing it up.
Yeah.
And that's what he's got to be looking for. It's the general rule that's easy to say and really hard to follow when you're fighting against heal or regen or any of that sort of wound removal. Is just kill what you hit, and then you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
It's really hard to do in this list, but if he does get an opportunity to punch those tyrants in the face, it's a good call.
And I was going to say that earlier about the Phoenix. It's not just that it's a built-in heal plus like an extra heal. It's an extra heal in every unit around it. So it's potentially even more powerful than that. And if you look at that right now, in the next turn, Ryan's going to heal 2 units and then cast the heal 5 onto another unit. So really
That's what I thought he might do. So now it's only healing the ancients and the tyrants here. He's looking at a place where he can get all 3, but I don't think he can.
Nah, he'd need nimble, I think.
Yeah.
Well, and to still be relevant with its healing.
Because the wall of nerve is on the ceremonial guard. He can wait a little bit to heal them, right? So I guess
if he was with the ceremonial guard, he could get all 3 in, but no, not like this.
it looks like he's going to choose to go with the ceremonial guard and the tyrants. That's going to make the ancients a little more vulnerable.
They're going to get an auto heal from.
Nope.
Or did he already?
Yeah, it's done it. That's where they are. And
They're within 6, yeah.
that Phoenix
Gonna get
isn't
another hill.
in. Oh yes, it can just. Can it just see the ancients? I think it just. Well, that's close as that.
It's within 6 if you click on it.
Oh, yeah, the ancients do have a toe in those woods, so I guess technically he could see them there.
Mm. And fully healed. There you go.
He healed all 5. That is
Yay.
cool.
That feels
Cannons
horrible.
wasted again.
And especially because some of this stuff, I mean, the cannons are one, but the dogs that are just getting healed off, you're like, I paid legitimate points for those wounds that are going away.
Oh, 9
So as a one shot,
breakers. Okay, there's some hashtag EB Dice right there. Holy cow. He practically hit and wounded with everything. Wow. Oh, only 7 hits. Maybe he won't break those guys.
Oof.
3 to 4 wounds.
4 wounds.
So he needs a 6 twice. Got him.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot
yeah.
dicey.
If you just roll the exact nerve you need, you're fine. So
But he's carrying 8 wounds on him,
Mm.
so that's big too. I mean, Elliot did
Well,
quite
plus-
a bit.
Like the big thing here is too, right? He's gonna clean up this Iron Watch rifle unit, which is pretty much the only thing that Clan Lord can see. So I'm guessing the Berserker Lord is just gonna make him sit down so he can't fly.
yeah,
And then he can't just jump over those woods and be in a super threatening position.
Another option is you put your cannon and the last set of dogs from the Mastiff pack into it, and the Berserker Lord gets into a better position.
True enough. Yeah, the cannon
mean-
can't see him, so that is definitely a possibility.
Being in turn 3 now, like, what do you guys think about the deployment of the left cannon in general behind that hill?
Well,
Where
I just liked it right from the get-go. I didn't know what he was kind of trying to do, cutting off most of his, especially since if he was going to deploy behind the hill like this, why not pivot even more towards the center?
Mm.
Right, to shoot more across that fence, right? That's by the lake in like that shooting lane, right? To see more stuff. For sure.
But I didn't like it in general. I thought it should be more kind of in this area over more towards the middle. Or
just to understand though, like, what are the targets he's not shooting right now because of that hill? There's the ceremonial guard is it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing he's trying to fight right now. So
Yeah.
Well, but he's going to put a lot of wounds on it probably over the next 2 or 3 turns. Being able to shoot it maybe in turn 5 or 6 might be big.
And he might have been
Well,
able to shoot
sure.
it a turn or 2 earlier when it wasn't in combat. Just to
Yeah,
keep that
in
damage
the
on
first
before they
turn when he did 5 wounds, it may have been 7 or 8 wounds, right? And that becomes a lot harder for the Phoenix to heal off.
He had that piece of terrain also at the bottom, the impassable that's right next to the, almost close to the center bottom, that's
Yeah.
next to the fence. But I think had he maybe deployed it 6 to 8, probably 8 inches further to the right, and then angled a little bit more towards the center, he would have had better shooting lanes in general. Maybe he could have even shot that ceremonial guard. But also the list, I think a third cannon against the list like Ryan's right now would have been really like crucial, maybe even in shooting down some of the units that late game are gonna make a difference.
But
if
more
you could
so
get-
having one of those troops of Brock's.
Well, it'd need another horde to get the unlock for it. He's only got 2 proper unlocks. hasn't he?
Okay.
Aren't the Iron Watch also?
Yeah, but that's unlocking your 3rd character.
Oh, he's got 3 characters, yeah. Yeah, so that's basically a whole. But the Brocks
Yeah,
aren't
the
regular in
proper
Food War. Yeah, so he did have another unlock.
So we have combat, right? The Iron Watch got blown up as we expected.
And now the ceremonial guard
So-
did actually countercharge, and he's blowing them up.
So Ceremonial Guard is doing, he hopes, terrible things to the Brock Riders.
That was the tyrants, actually.
Okay.
Now the ceremonial guard.
Oh, that was terrible.
That was really terrible. They may actually live there. Does he blow the effigy then, knowing that? Nope.
Nah, it's
Yeah, no, you're
they're
all
only
right.
dash 13 now, aren't they?
They're dash 15, I think, aren't they?
Yeah, you're right. Dash 15. Yeah.
Yeah, which is no slouch for a nice 125 point unit.
Mm.
They make actually pretty good chaff.
Yeah, they're on that expensive end, right? The side that says they have to do a little more than just die. But they're much harder to kill. I mean, they're no Rev Cav, but they're pretty good for their points.
What do you mean,
Whatever.
Revcap?
RevCav, let's be honest.
We were talking about yesterday. We're like, actually, if you took Revenant Cav and you took them off the horse, so you took the height off them, you took the 3 speed off them, they'd still be worth it.
I think they need
Probably.
Pathfinder.
Yeah.
I was comparing them to an Elven Shield Watch, who were 10 points cheaper at that point, and you're like, actually, I'd probably still rather have them. They're still a better anvil than Shield Watch are. But that's kind of how bad Shield Watch are and how good Revenant Cav are.
Yeah, that's more of a like
That's
comparing
points.
things to Shield Watch is just mean for the elf player.
So,
So,
speaking of Revcap, though, I would like to hear you guys' opinion about it. What do you guys think is the biggest problem? Is it the troop, the regiment, or the horde?
All of them.
yes.
The fact is, they're all amazing.
Yes. Yeah. Just yes.
Yes.
All the yes.
The actual real problem with RevCav is the rest of the undead list. It's all the best
Yep.
support units in the game for that particular unit. You couldn't ask for anything better.
That is very true.
It's designed for it, isn't it?
That is very, very true.
okay, so we are at the bottom of turn 3.
Here we go.
Elliot needs to, I think, pull himself out of a bad situation on the right as best he can, and has a potentially slightly better case on the left.
So he's trying to see the ancients there, I guess. I guess. Oh no, he's going to shoot the cannon at the Lachilodon. Try and finish it off. I guess he's trying to decide whether he's going to charge those ancients or not.
He can't. He was out of range.
Oh, was he just out of range?
Yeah, he left him out.
Yeah, that's something you all have to get used to if you are not dwarf players. All sorts of charges you look at. Oh, I'll just move them here and they'll be in. But no, they're not actually in range. You're always short of what you think you should be.
Yeah, everything else threatens you.
Pretty much the only way to charge anything is do what he did with the shield breakers here, which is just shove them into someone's face, and
He's like, you
so
literally
they can't
cannot
get
get away. I could finally get you.
Although that's why they have mastiffs too, right? So
Yeah.
And that's sort of, it is the throwing mastiffs. We sort of joke about it. It's every list is who let the dogs out, but it's an extremely effective one-use weapon for all of those times when you're not quite in charge range, and normally your opponent would just stand in that kind of zone of uncertainty and not care. And now you get to at least throw dogs at them and laugh before you get charged because you have short legs. But it's at least you get to do something interesting and proactive during that time.
but he's trying to get line of sight on those ancients. Because the Lachilodon, it doesn't matter, right? He can shoot over his own troops to shoot at the Lachilodon. It's height 3, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, if this was a kill scenario, basically like his Elliot's main force went across the left flank, and Ryan's main force went across the right flank in a way where they kind of like avoided the real battle. They just, everything that's happening in the center sort of, in terms of scoring, is not going to matter except for what's going to end up in the center. So this is interesting. Just scooting away from one another as if they were avoiding.
Yeah, there's sort of a common battle pattern that happens. I'm sure we've all seen it, where someone stacks one flank, someone stacks the other. They both win on those flanks, and you get this like sort of swirl effect where they're both coming around and turn back towards the middle to fight over that. I just think it's interesting. It just feels like Ryan's closing the trap potentially faster. I mean, it really all depends on this combat, how this goes. If he breaks those ceremonial guard, that's a huge position to be in.
So
if he doesn't,
I don't think there's no way for him to fit all three in.
I don't think he can. I think he just have to not throw
can.
berserkers in.
He's only got the one pivot, right?
Yeah, the odds are against him there. Even if he does, it's not great. And the double charge isn't fantastic.
So at this point, if he only has a double charge, I think he sidesteps with the Brox and he just brings Kragoth and the shield breakers in.
Yeah, he can sidestep 4 with the Brox. And the problem is, if he does that, he's going to face tyrants in the flank next
The
turn.
captain in the rear.
He is going to anyways.
Yeah, it's going to be front now. If he double charges, it's going to be front. He should take that charge. He should put those wounds on that. I mean, what is he going to do? He needs to do something too, right? He needs to go in.
there's no tricky way for him to get that charge on the tyrants, right?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, it would be a mistake to sit back now, especially with that character in the back too, who does triple his attacks in the rear, right? The battle captain. How many attacks does he have? I'm not familiar with him.
5. Crush 2, Thunderous 1, I think.
Yeah, Crush 2, Thunderous 1. Oof, Jesus. Yeah, you don't want that guy in the rear on 3s. So 6 attacks. That will be 18 on 3s with basically a 3 modifier. Does he have Pathfinder? No.
It's scaring Kragoth at that, right? Isn't it? I mean, he's got the push tokens.
He could. Well, if Kragoth, let's see what Kragoth does, but he could get a bunch of. He could also go in. Yeah, Kragoth would be the best. Depending on it, I mean, he potentially could take out the Rock Rider troop with it, and then in the frontal charge of whatever, depending on what Elliot's doing right now, he could go into Kragoth or the shield breakers. But I think he needs to kill the shield breakers, and that is he in range?
It depends when the shield breakers charge.
Hmm.
When they do charge, they'll be out.
They're currently in range, but I think they'll be out.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're out.
Speed 7. That's quite nice. Speed 7 on a character. Yeah, Speed 7 is nice. Once you're in battle, being able to charge 14 is quite big because everything is already closer to one another.
So I think Elliot's coming to the same conclusion we talked about, sidestepping with the Brox and bringing both Kragoth and the shield breakers in. But it's still, at this point, Elliot's lost a lot trading pieces. He's way behind. I think this is kind of more of a Hail Mary play to try and bring it back, if I were to call it anything.
So what other options does he have? Is there anything?
Well,
Is
if
it
he hits with all
just-
4 of his cannons and does 12 damage to the Ancients, he's all right.
Yeah. Well, as Tom was saying, why isn't Elliot putting both cannons into the middle tyrants? That was kind of our question right from the get-go, because I thought that was it. Like Riley says, it is a little bit late for that now, but I felt like that's something that he should have been doing right from the get-go, because that was the only target actually that both cannons could see all game long.
So that's a question to note for the after game interview. Is why didn't you just keep shooting the tyrants?
I don't think Elliot has a lot of war machines in any of the lists that I've seen him play either, though, and that could actually be playing a factor. He's not. I don't see a lot of shooting from him typically.
The thing also with mandatory 2 hills in deployment zones means that, and look at this one, you have 2 hills actually only on 1/3 of the battlefield, and it's already blocking quite a bit with the 2 forests and the 1 impassable that's on there. So like the breaking down of the shooting lanes on this game in particular from the get-go, yeah, he should have had both of the cannons closer to the center so that he could cross maybe the shooting lanes or something. It's not optimal though. He didn't have very great shooting lanes to begin with.
I don't like turning Kragoff around there.
So is he just going to be chasing that battle captain the rest of the game?
Yep. I mean, he's carrying the push tokens. He's on the other side of the board.
He's not quite on the other side of the board, but he's within easy striking range of it. Yeah.
What do we think about no surge in the list with a greater earth elemental? I know it's a heavy tax to pay, but
I don't mind it. He's yeah, that's nice, but he's got scout anyway.
Yeah, because he's got scout, I
Should
don't
be at the
mind
front.
it.
Yeah, and you want to have surge on, like, if you have multiple surge targets that are really fast and maybe possibly have nimble or easy to get into surge flanks, I think you want to have surge. On one earth elemental might not be worth having it, but it's always good against flyers. You know, you have it as a defense. Jeremy always said,
so we
"Don't go home without it."
3 wounds from the Packmaster, 4 hits with the cannon for 4 more wounds.
Mhm.
And now this last cannon.
Oh, oh, go on. Oh, do it. Go on, do it. Oh,
No. He needs an 11 once, though.
a 10. The dash 17.
Oh, they're only dash 17. That's not
But
bad.
they are inspired.
They're not. Oh, they are inspired, though, from the Ancients.
Ancients, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where triple cannon from the get-go could have been great against those.
Well, especially with the lower defense on them. They're just such an easy target, especially with 30 attacks. You know, you just can't let those guys sit around and pick stuff off, right? It's
And to
interesting.
be fair, it was a 9 actually, shattering, which
Yeah, exactly.
ended up not playing a role. But
It didn't matter with the roll, yeah.
if it had been doing that earlier, like a turn earlier shooting them, you know, it'd have been job done.
Yeah, that article is such a piece of shit.
Yes, he is. I hate him.
Oh, is that a nerve check? Did he just take the dragon out?
Damn you, Ryan.
He did too.
Yep.
Ah, get off, you prick.
So in the bottom right corner, the Berserker Lord, after seeing the Berserker Brox get savaged by the Clan Lord, has taken revenge in classic sort of Dwarf Slayer fashion and brought down the Clan Lord. I think that, I mean, it's obvious like killing a dragon helps your flank, but like how big a deal is that for the rest of this battle?
I think the dragon's done his job there. I don't think it actually matters that much.
The important thing here is that little dwarf right there, standing in front of the big monster, tying both of those units up.
I mean, I disagree. This is bottom of 3, or did they forget to turn counter?
This is bottom 3.
Okay, so the dragon would have had potentially like 1 or 2 more turns of like crazy flanking stuff.
Hell, the dragon might have turned around and just whacked the Berserker Lord in one go as well.
Yeah,
With a bit of dice.
that's. He had 8 wounds on him already, right? That's what we were saying earlier from the Brox and the Lord earlier.
I think it was 7. But yeah, it was good. He did a good job.
Shows you also how
completely whiffing around before, didn't it?
Yeah, it came back around.
Yeah.
This is what you get. You just need over 2 turns. It was average. It's just the one turn
that was
was low.
shockingly bad.
I don't know because they don't have any Thunderous, right? That's
I mean the Shield Breakers have got 11 hits hitting on 3s.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. That's death.
Oh, now they get picked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that unit's gonna have no wounds by the end of that turn, probably. Maybe 3, maybe 4.
4 or 5, yeah.
Yeah.
So bad. Like, this is Elliot's gonna be a
He played for the Hail Mary. He didn't get it. If that had gone well, he could have picked up the Tyrant Horde and the Ceremonial Guard. But that would have gone really well.
Yeah,
If he'd done that, he'd have been in really good position. But it wasn't asked.
that Ceremonial Guard Horde is not only a tank, it's a hammer also. It's crazy good.
Yep.
With the heal support. He doesn't
It's a
even have
Hank.
inspiring around it. He's like, I don't need inspiring. He's like, put the wounds on me. I'll just heal it back.
Yeah, with strength they do so many wounds.
And they have crush 1 to begin with, so they crush 2 on 30 attacks on 4, so 15 on 2s, 7.5 wounds against a defense 5 unit. It's pretty solid while being able to heal back 5 or 6. I mean, let's say 3, 4, 5 wounds. It's pretty solid.
Yeah. Defense 5 phalanx actually works really well with them with the heal backup.
Yeah, there's actually fighting
away from it. Sorry.
There's a small number of sort of defense 5 phalanx units kicking around, defense 5 or more phalanx units kicking around, and they always just make such a pain in the ass to get rid of. Long axes in the orc army, you have with the Dogs of War and Rordia, which are a huge pain in the ass with ensnare and phalanx. So anytime you see those, they're sort of something to look out for as this really great anvil, and in this case, also a hammer. So
Tom just likes any excuse to blame Jeff Swan for anything. He's blaming Jeff Swan for why dwarves are bad. Not that, Jeff Swan probably doesn't deserve it. Just saying. Matt's idea of having dwarves on Frostfangs is pretty interesting.
They need more than one pose.
Jeff Swan beat the celibacy and come play with us in the Call to Arms tournament. That would be nice. We need you, Jeff Swan.
That's actually a bunch of words put together that I never thought I'd hear.
We need you, Jeff Swan.
So we're into turn 4. Ryan is making his movements now. He's taking the easy charge. Flank on those shield breakers, assuming there isn't a terrible sacrifice to the God of Fours for those tyrants. He should be picking them up.
He's dangerous snakes.
And then the Rhinosaur is the Rhinosaur just running circles around Kragoth on the left.
I think he is, but in an odd spot where he can't see much. And okay, that's better. I was like, he's putting himself in the arc of the cannon and not really facing the cannon for no reason. Does that Rhinosaur have Strider? He does not. And he's towed in on that terrain piece. Not that he needed to beat up a cannon.
You say that. It's defense 5, it will count.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
It strips his Thunderous.
He's only doing
so
like 5 damage.
18 attacks on 4s. 9 hits, and then crush 2, so 3s. Yeah.
6 damage on the 13. Yeah. I think he's decided against going after it as well. I mean, it'd take it out of the game. There's no point. The cannons are not doing the job either at the moment.
I will mention that Tom was going to do this entire video in a robe, and that Elliot guilted him in to go put pants and a shirt on. So
yeah, then maybe get dressed.
We call that the Chavez look in the Americas when you're just roving it the whole game.
Actually.
So we're looking. Ryan's blowing up the shield breakers. He's trying to clean up those rocks. He's dancing around Kragoth. You know, the tyrants and the slasher in the forest on the right are getting chaffed up right now, but are not yet in danger of dying to anything. The berserker coming in might help. It feels really bad for Elliot. Is are there ways out of this? Is there something he should be looking for? It feels like he might have Kragoth and a shield breaker horde and a couple bits at the end.
He has got options. That tyrant horde there fighting the dwarf lord, it shouldn't kill him. And then the dwarf lord, away from the mastiff pack, and the berserkers all going together. A bit of dice, you can get them. The shield breakers are all right. They're going to the ancient regiment to pick that. Well, horde, sorry. Yeah, regiment. There is a way out where he picks up the scenario. Kragoth obviously is fine and has a shooting attack, so he can turn around, put some extra damage into the ceremonial guard. So it's not outlandish by any means. It's just he's asking for good or slightly above dice everywhere.
So I'm guessing the tyrants just blew the J boots this turn because I don't see hindered on that dwarf lord.
He's got to, yeah.
So now the odd part here is if the dwarf lord does live, which is not outside the realm of possibility, those mastiffs actually get a rear charge on those tyrants.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't see him breaking those the ancients unless he picks the tyrants up, right? So the shield breakers need at least 2 or 3 turns to break that ancients unit.
I really do wish the shield breakers did a little more to that ceremonial guard, so they'd be in range of Kragoth fireballing them to death. Right now, it's possible, but very unlikely.
But I was just an appalling roll there. 11 hits was just shocking.
Yeah, and here he heals the tyrants back up to full. I think he leaves the ceremonial guard with the 9 wounds on it. Well, 8 wounds after radiance.
Yeah, the tyrants, I think, might just be in range of both cannons. Oh, well, arc and range.
They're definitely, yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, so Ryan's fiddling with the Phoenix, getting it in the spot it needs to be.
Yeah, isn't within cannon bait range, right? Yeah, this is all kinds of bad for Elliot. Elliot needs a couple of really strong turns. Although, oddly enough, I mentioned it, but kind of in jest. But a Snake Eyes on that shield breaker unit ends up being a big turner too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's taking some pot shots again at these shield breakers, just piling up damage on them.
He's rolling so well for them. To do 8 wounds, just those 2 shooting attacks last turn. Looks like he's going to do another, 6 more. That unit's within breaking distance now.
So I have a question for you guys. Considering there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's 5 pieces and outside of the deployment zone that are sort of like blocking line of sight, and then there's almost nothing. There's no terrain at all in deployment zones. My question is, what are you guys used to? Because this is a debate I have sometimes with people. When you have 10 pieces, I would like for them to be like a little bit more evenly distributed. And I don't even play shooting armies, but I would like for the terrain to be a little bit more evenly distributed than this. This is quietly like congested in the center.
So the only real rule is that there shouldn't be any hills in deployment zones. Everything else is actually kind of
Right.
So I'm actually more surprised that not at least one of these woods isn't pushed back more to be in a deployment zone of some sort.
So right now we're looking at
So we
all
have-
of the terrain being in 1/3 of the battlefield, pretty much.
Yeah, so the tyrants were able to pick up those shield breakers, blew them up, and now he's checking sort of the arcs to try and get
So-
out. Like, what can I do to get out of the cannon range? So
Yeah, and the shooting wavered that other shield breaker unit too, which is of note.
Yeah, it is a
They are
headstrong one.
strong, but they failed it the first time, right? So
And Elliot never fails headstrong; he always passes it, so it's very unusual.
good to know.
I remember the first time one of the first times I played him, we were playing dwarves, and he made every single headstrong roll during the entire game. This was back on 4+ as well. I was there going, God, that's a really good rule, is that? And then you find out later on it's not that great. It's just he rolls
Yeah.
really well for it. Ooh,
The problem with
Are they
headstrong
alive?
was
they're alive.
Nah.
Oh no, there was 11 there. Damn it. Okay.
No, that'd have been fun.
they're off.
All bad for Elliot.
Mm.
So yeah, he's got Kragoth on the left. Is the Packmaster still kind of in the middle there, being
Yep.
annoying?
Yep.
So it's time for some Packmaster heroics. Him and a laser-eyed cannon shot are going to take down the ceremonial guard. Although I don't know that actually helps him now. I think the target is the tyrants, right?
It is the tyrants. It has to be the tyrants. Oh. I don't even know if Kragoth can actually get out of arc and charge range of the ceremonial guard anymore.
He won't need to. He's taking them out himself.
He's gonna do him.
He's facing the wrong way for
Gonna do
that.
him. He's gonna do him
Just gonna
eventually.
walk up. Just gonna walk up and kick him in the teeth. It's gonna be great.
Elliot's going to
That's
look back at this game and wonder what he was thinking when he faced Kragoth towards the battle captain last turn.
To be fair, I think he's gonna think what he was thinking when he put the free dwarf list down.
Yeah, well, he already said that what was he thinking when he talked about deployment? That was like right after deployment. So I'm pretty convinced you're right there.
Oh, headstrong. Go on. Go on. Go on.
Oh no!
Oh no.
And it failed this time.
Riley says that's called the Billy. I don't know why that is.
Okay, so we are bottom of 4. Failing that headstrong. Bad to worse. Feels like it went bad to worse there.
Well, he could still possibly pick up the tyrants here. But yeah, that unit gets shot off.
Mm. It's more that he'd be able to get a bit of damage on their ancients before they go down. I think. Because they were going to go down. It's just, if you can get 5 or 6 damage on the ancients, follow it with cannon shots, you can take the objective out from under them.
God, that slasher can charge the flank of that unit. And, well, they're going to back up, right? The shield breakers have to back up again.
Yeah, I mean, they're dead anyway, aren't they?
And that's a shame for that unit. They've basically stood around threatening things without doing anything and killing
Being out of range of everything.
an Ember Sprite. That's kind of the dwarf life of like, I'm this big scary horde and no one will let me charge them, and I eventually get whittled down because I'm defense 4. That's
Actually, I'm not
traditionally
like
been well, that's traditionally been one of the problems with the sort of big shield breaker horde.
So interestingly, the game's not really over yet because the dwarves in the bottom right corner can still sort of like take that tyrant horde out, possibly threaten towards the center because we have 2 turns left after this.
But with
Uh,
so
but overall, yeah.
agree with you because it's currently a draw, but then he's got like the flying unit and the Lycodon who can go and pick up that center objective.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Currently, the Phoenix's job is just to flap around and land on that objective.
Yeah.
It's very dire for Elliot at this point. But
And it's sort of like
got both
there's a
tyrant
lot.
units.
There's a lot has to go right, and
Yeah.
even then, he is coming out of that bottom right corner strong with a hindered unit of Mastiffs and like a Berserker Lord. It's not exactly the cavalry charge of Rohan that's going to break the lines of
Yeah.
Mordor. This is
So once again, he is measuring out that cannon at that Ancients unit. He's not going to break that Ancients unit. I don't even know why he's even bothering to target them right now.
Try to pick up the points on the Tyrant Horde, I think.
yeah, I mean, in this tournament, the kill points are a little bit different to acquire, so it's good to go for that as well. If you're knowing you're fighting a losing battle, maybe you can pick them up towards turn 5 or 6 with the rest on that. Yeah. I mean, you should shoot something. He's got the Lycodon or the Tyrant Horde, right? Regiment.
Oof. He needs an 11 on that unit to break him. 9 to wait.
Just go roll double 6 and kill it. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, exactly. It's only once, I guess.
Cannon's missing
Well-
again.
That's what they do.
Yeah,
So-
so you have 3
I think. Oh,
units per turn, right? On average. You should get one and a third hit per turn or something like that on average with 2.
And I don't think he's reached average at any point really with the cannons.
nope.
yeah, I think he's
There's
only
been a-
with them.
there's hot cannon games, and then there's this game. And it is not. This is the game that makes people look at and be like, "What's the problem with cannons? I don't see anything." And then the game that's not on stream, they pick up a unit a turn, and so
But that's the problem with war machines in general, right? Is they're so feast and famine. It's hard to point them appropriately when they're eating at the trough. That they do pick up a unit a turn, but then most other games, they'll end up being more like plank damage, and you'll wish you had like a regiment of shooters or something instead.
well, regiment of shooters in this edition aren't good either.
Yeah, totally.
And in this game with the shooting lanes, they're not effective at all. Just not very good.
Oh, just shy.
Yeah. You see, if he'd have put that Pack Master on them,
I know
Did
he
it
would have picked them up. I know.
it's the second time he's done that. It's the second time.
It's funny too because we've talked actually on previous streams about focus fire. Make sure you're picking something up rather than spreading it around and sprinkling it all over. And yet, what is he doing this game? He's sprinkling it all over.
Yep. Yeah.
Interestingly, in that earlier turn, you remember when we were talking about the 2 Rockrider troops facing that ceremonial guard? He chose to charge with 1 and move 1 sort of in the flank, not taking the charge. I think maybe it would have actually been better for him to double charge that unit just to get the attacks out, 26 on 4s, and maybe do 10 wounds to it. So like the heal, I don't know. Maybe that would have been a better move. That
They're
flank move
phalanx. They're phalanx to the front, so it's 5s, right?
Yeah, but he never got to attack in the flank. It was one of those, like, I'm going to get sort of in your flank, but, like, you just do a little pivot and you're back in where you need to be.
I think what Elliot really should have done with the issue is its target prioritization. So he'd be looking at what it can shoot, what is a certain shot, what it can only shoot. So that cannon can only really shoot the tyrants. That's only really places can do any good. So he should have shot that first. Seeing the amount of damage it done, and then turn around and go, actually, I'll throw the Pack Master in there because the Pack Master had 2 options. So you take your certainty first because you know what you don't have much of a choice. If it had saved his shots later on, it's gone. Actually, I've got 2 or 3 damage on the tyrants. Another 2 or 3 with a shattering. It should kill him.
Yeah.
And that's a good point. Like, take the non-options first and see where you lay. I've heard people complain that you are allowed to sort of pick what each target shoots in Kings of War throughout the round. You don't have to declare at the beginning. But as long as that's the rules, take advantage of it. And, the order in which you fight combats as well as the order in which you do your shooting matters a lot.
Well, in the order you pick your units to move too, right? If it's okay for me to move a unit out of the way and then charge in the movement phase, why shouldn't it be okay for me to pick and choose my units and shoot with them one by one as well, right? So order of operations matters completely for everything in King's War. I don't see why the shooting phase should be any different than any other phase.
Okay. So we're bottom of 4, or we're now into Ryan's turn, right? Yep. So he's coming. We're at top of 5. He's charging Kragoth.
And the battle
Okay.
The battle captain could see, could he?
He is facing upwards.
I thought he was facing to the right.
Yeah, I thought so too at first, but that is clearly not the case.
I think he's moved to face up, or was he the whole time?
I think he was the whole time because last turn he kind of. Oh, maybe he did.
Yeah, he was facing to the right. That's right.
I think you're right. Yeah, he was definitely.
I mean, he's going to have to heal the ceremonial guy because that Earth Elemental's got a good shot at just fucking going straight. Oh, sorry, swearing. You're just going straight through him.
Yeah, I mean it's been running around as a big expensive Ifrit so far. When it's in combat, it'll actually fight better than it's fireballing.
Yeah.
So
No, Ryan did a good job of limiting what Kragoth can do this game. And, where you were talking about having a greater Earth Elemental with no Surge, there was some cases where he should have been more aggressive, like Tom was saying earlier, with him, knowing that he didn't have the Surge options there. You do have to a little differently when you don't have the Surge crutch.
it's that case where he on his left flank had a speed advantage, a unit advantage, and was not able to sort of capitalize on that, right? Like, we looked at that, and the place that he was supposed to win was on the left. It's now top of 5, and we're looking at, Kragoth alone over there, and everything else dead.
Yeah.
So, like that side, the side that he was committing some resources to, couldn't win, and that hurts. So now we have both the Liquiladon and the Slasher coming in, and I assume something else, maybe?
A tackle.
Yeah. UV is always sometimes hard to see the individuals. These little dots.
Especially when they've got the same color base as the table.
So they've decided they're sick of shooting at them, and they're just going to run in and finish them off.
Solid plan. He's done enough.
And this means there's a very good chance that those ancients never see combat and basically just stand there with their push tokens.
The whole game he's struggling with the shooting range of those cannons.
Do they have to be mostly over or fully over?
Mostly, I think.
Mostly, isn't it?
I will find out.
I think that was this was one that I think used to have to be fully over, but now it's mostly.
Yeah, I think didn't all of them
entirely.
Oh,
it's entirely.
Okay. He still has
2 victory points for each loot counter you hold where your unit is entirely on the opposing half of the board.
He still doesn't return though.
Well, next on his turn 6, he'll just turn a bit more, pick up that last objective, and be fully in Elliot's half. There's nothing.
Yeah, go in.
So what do we think? What's going on in the woods at the bottom right here?
He's trying to finish off the Dwarf Lord, I think. Yeah.
Which is the right play, in my opinion, because then you can just turn to face the dogs. Or
And the Dwarf Lord's inspiring the Shield Breakers, which is
Yep.
obviously...
so he fights that one out first.
Yep. So you killed the Dwarf Lord first, remove Inspiring from the area.
And as
And
an added bonus, on a roll of a 4 on the overrun, looks like he gets the flank of those shield breakers.
There's an Iron Resolve aura on that Dwarf Lord.
Yeah.
But it hasn't really mattered because Elliot's been wavered the entire time.
Yeah, it's the part of the Iron Resolve that doesn't actually come up as much as you would think, that you need a steady nerve result for it.
Yeah.
And they haven't been getting those. So
Though,
Sure.
what
So
Elliot can do...
Possible.
is-
There's a very small possible chance of a draw.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think Elliot needs some kind of miracle. And Ryan to fall asleep and forget that there's a center objective.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was about to say. If he flies that Dwarf Berserker Lord right up beside the Ancients, so the Ancients can't physically touch that loot token, they can't pick it up.
Right.
And then go like one-shot Ceremonial Guard, the cannon one-shots the Tyrants, hopefully.
Well,
And
no,
then
no.
they can
What you're
walk
saying
away
is
for a
true.
draw.
If the Beastmaster gets in the way of those ceremonial guard getting the center objective, or at least getting it in a position to be on Elliot's side of the board, there is a possibility that actually he could just withdraw and sidestep with him, but not with that roll. 9 wounds on that
Ooh,
guy.
wow.
A 9 on nerve. Did he just pick him up? Is he dash 20 or dash 18?
I think he's dash 19.
Oh, that was close.
Yes, dash 19.
whew, that's twitchy bum time. That's a clinch moment.
I don't know if shooting
So-
waver the Phoenix is enough, Tom, because he can just go walk over and touch it with the Ancients, be on Elliot's side of the board, and possibly.
That's what I said. The Berserker Lord flies
Yeah,
up in front of the Ancients. The pack master's probably going to move towards the objective and then try and take the Tyrants off.
Yeah.
What is keeping the Phoenix from just landing on that thing and
It's
chilling?
not nimble.
Okay.
The Zerga Lord is currently is not engaged with the Tyrants because he decided to actually turn and fight the Lord.
It's a bit of a play, but it can definitely do it.
I like it. I like the weird. The Phoenix is nimble, right?
No, it's not. Lost it.
Yeah, it's no longer.
Is that a fact? Because I'm looking at the Salamander book list with the Phoenix, and it says nimble.
Yeah, it is nimble. Yeah, I'm looking at it in the.
Oh, I
It
thought
lost
I lost it.
Inspiring.
Yeah, it lost inspiring.
Yeah, lost inspiring. So he needs to block Phoenix off from landing and the Ancients off from picking it up too.
Ah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, so we add one-shotting the Phoenix with the cannons to the list of things that must go right this round.
There's just one more thing. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. So that my brother, when we used to go watch as little kids, we would go watch American football games, and half the stadium would be leaving because our team at the time was terrible, and he would still be that kid that's like, okay, all we need is an onside kick, recover it, score a quick touchdown, recover a second onside kick. And it was like this insane scenario he was trying to follow. But he always believed that it would work, and that's kind of the belief that Elliot needs to have right now, and just play for that tiny percentage.
So as Tom's saying, if he
Wait.
flies the Berserker Lord and just parks right on the objective, nobody can see him right now, so none of them could charge him to go and beat him up, and pick it up.
And that's the
That's the draw scenario.
Yeah.
Is he even within 20? I don't think he is. He's not. He's 20. Oh, he's 23-ish away. What about Packmaster? What's the Packmaster's move?
It's Speed Dwarf.
It's only 4 then?
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh,
He can't even park on it either. Well, here's the question there, though. Like, this is all sort of assuming that Kragoth keeps their objectives and is on their side of the table. Isn't the captain with Rhinosaur going to just go punch him in the face now? Although he's parked in the field, which just that makes it way worse.
If Elliot's really lucky, he'll pick up the ceremonial guard and both Tyrant Hordes this turn.
He has. It's not even a luck thing. It's a has to happen thing. Otherwise, this game is over.
But
I mean, this game is pretty much over at this point.
Oh yeah, no, we were pretty much yeah, exactly.
Oh, he's trying to shoot the Ancients again. Elliot, give up. It's not going to happen.
Why? Why are you shooting the Ancients?
He's trying to find a line on him. It's like,
I don't know why that matters.
shoot the Tyrant Horde.
I guess he's trying to make them drop it, but the problem comes in is even if he does drop it, somebody else is just going to go pick it up. Probably the Lycodon.
Well, the Lycodon's facing completely the wrong way, isn't it?
Yeah, he is.
Can't match.
And so is
To
the
be
Gecko,
fair,
actually.
Yeah. I don't know why he's turned the Slasher around to face the Mastiffs, because they're hardly the biggest threat.
Yeah, exactly.
They should be really looking. The Slasher should really be looking that direction, to cover him just in case.
So I don't like the Mastiffs backing off because the cannon's within 12 inches. He's going to use the grape shot on them? What a waste.
No, he's definitely not doing that. He's going to throw the dogs at him instead. No cover, no hindered.
Yep.
Better shot.
It's more effective to back off and have dogs.
That's right.
Dogs throw dogs.
I think Elliot's looking at that because if he, like we were talking about earlier with target prioritization, if he takes a left cannon, puts it into the Ancients and goes, "Oh, I've done 8 damage," and he has the arc on them, might be worth a shot rather than going for the Tyrants instead. So that might be why he's checking to see if he's in arc. Oh, he's shooting the Phoenix.
That's the only thing that I can see.
His cannon's missing again.
Yeah, all of this doesn't matter so much if he just keeps missing.
3 wounds there.
Yeah, Packmaster's the best.
He's
pretty.
It's this thing that happens as you see them at the beginning of the game and you think, that's annoying. I'll need to deal with him so he doesn't just shoot me for 6 rounds in a row. And then the game actually happens and you look back and you go, oh, he shot me for 6 rounds in a row. I hate him.
Why do you need cannons? Dogs are clearly better.
Yeah.
Look at this. Cannons done nothing, dogs have done 6. There you go. That's math, is that?
I'm just saying that the next article on One Northern King is triple Packmaster build. Actually, they're legends, right? Are they?
He is doing grape shot here.
No,
Yeah,
it's not. Grape shot's worthless. You'll fire a normal cannon.
At what though? The Tyrants, the Far Tyrants?
Yeah, fire Tyrants. Go on, do it. Do it, Elliot. Go on. No, don't do that.
That's grape shot. Why would he do that? He can't even see that one, anyways.
He doesn't have to fire grape shot within 12. He can just fire a normal cannon shot.
yeah,
it doesn't have indirect?
No.
That's why it's slightly good.
Oh, it doesn't. Ooh.
The point of the grape shot is it's not actually a reload fire. So you can pivot to something on your right behind you or whatever and grape shot it.
Didn't break any.
Usual for Elliot.
He didn't break anything.
Nah, he's rolled like crap. Got all them nerve rolls.
Okay.
5, a 5, and
So
a
we-
4.
So we just need a second onside kick to be recovered and a fumble, and we're still in this.
Just need to be really lucky another time.
Yeah.
So here he needs to pick this up, and then he needs a sidestep to be into Ryan's half, right?
Yeah, but I feel like the battle captain's just coming in.
Yeah, it's
And
turn
he's
5,
coming
so
in
he might as well just turn to face.
But no, you turn to face the battle cap, and the tyrants flank you.
Yeah, that's why he should have killed them with the shooting. It's his fault, really.
Exactly. He should have just shot them better.
And another crap nerve roll.
Holy, he can't break anything.
Nah.
It's this thing with the dwarves. You really want to outshoot your opponent. You want to delete a couple of things before you even get into combat. Otherwise, it's
Yeah.
difficult. Right? I mean, yeah, your movement is so slow, and look at that ceremonial guard horde on that flank, right? I mean, granted, it's got all that healing, but it's been raging. I mean, he took off a lot of stuff with it, and it's not gonna die. He's gonna get cragged too, probably. Meanwhile, the Ancients Regiment in the center are carrying the objective tokens is not even threatened. Yeah, it's bad day for the dwarves right now.
All right, I see this one wrapping up. I'm going to go to the washroom quick before we get to the recap.
It looks like he did kill that tyrant horde on the right.
Took him out with something.
Yeah, that he got a 5 on it, so even though it was crap roll, it was enough.
Did Shattering come in? Was that the...
No, that was the dogs shooting at the tyrants.
Okay.
So again, I mean, the cannons haven't hit, have they? So
Okay, so we moved back over. We are in top of turn 6, right? Not a lot on the board. There's still, yeah, it's just Kragoth is going down, right? We can all.
Oh, yeah. No, he's going down. The ceremonial guard probably had enough to do it by themselves.
Yeah, so that's leaving all the tokens in Ryan's hands, and
This may be a nice 25-point win for Ryan.
no, I think okay. So I don't think this is going to happen. I just think it would be funny. Whoever picks up those tokens from Kragoth takes a cannon from the left-hand cannon.
That's going to be the battle captain.
that's
At this
assuming
point,
it hits, which it won't.
The ceremonial guard are too hurt. I think it's got to be the battle captain that takes the
Yep.
token.
So Battle Captain picks it up. The cannon that will not hit all game will roll 4 6s in a row. And still roll a bad nerve roll and not pick it up. So
Only one of the cannons can even see him.
yeah. The left one. The good one.
Interesting as well, guys. The new errata FAQ is out.
Ooh.
Mm.
Anything spicy in it that we can talk about other than
This game that we know
Ryan cleaning up Elliot's last couple tokens?
Apparently, something's happened to Morgoth. I'm going to go have a look.
Oh, good.
Hey, guess what happened to Morgoth, guys?
What happened?
Guess what happened to him? He's
Has
now
Morgoth
and
He's
Dre
flying
Mag
past
7.
What is
What?
he?
Dre Mag 7.
Oh.
That's a good change. I think that's top.
Mm. Now, if you're comparing to a Lich King with Drain Life 7 and the boots, he's 10 points more and still better. So
Yeah, but you want him to be better than just the
Yeah,
thing you build
yeah.
out of a Lich King.
Yeah.
There's only one of them.
That's very nice.
It's interesting that they did. Like normally they would try and only errata things that were obviously broken, like accidentally broken, not intentionally broken. Like we gave this the wrong number of attacks or something. And because I'm assuming there's no Clash of Kings this year, they're taking this opportunity to go in and try and balance some stuff.
I think there's
I
still
think
gonna
this was a nice change, although it still leaves that door open of Morgoth and maybe another Lich King, which is still very powerful. But so speed 7 levitation, a 14-inch move is much less than 20 inches. So that's a good
you
change.
can't turn 1 Drain Life as well.
Yeah.
For 3
Say it
damage.
again.
You can't turn 1 Drain Life. You can't go up 20 for a 26 range Drain Life.
Yeah.
Anything happened to RevCav?
I think
Sorry.
that's a backup. I think they'll wait for Clash of Kings, I think, to do the really big things. I don't think they'll. No, I agree, Tom. I think the erratas should, like, unit entries should be replaced probably, and Clash of Kings is probably more of an appropriate place for it rather than putting in erratas. The biggest problem I'd like to know is that in the errata, because I know that when Ronnie came out to Masters, he was not a big fan of War Machine, the War Machine spam lists. Was there anything done to War Machines?
Doesn't look like it. No.
Okay, we have rolls happening. The cannon got picked up. That looks like by the gecko special character.
A tackle.
Yep, a tackle came in and punched that defense 5 cannon, took it out.
Is there a turn 7, or is Elliot put out of his misery?
Well, Elliot gets bottom of the turn.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So let's see. We're flip over to bottom of 7. Packmaster is going to
kill tyrants, hopefully.
Come on, Cannon. Come on, Cannon.
You got this, Cannon.
You can do it. Come on, Cannon.
Shooting. Double 6. Double 5 even.
Do it. God damn it, Elliot, roll it.
Oh. He's still fudging around with some movement.
Oh, they suck. They really suck.
And it missed again.
But master.
So what we've proven is even the Packmaster kind of went low.
Yeah. Doesn't even get the vicious roll.
What we've determined is that the free dwarf cannons got far inferior artillery training than any of the Imperial dwarf cannons that we're used to.
Yeah. Elliot's come with a spud gun to a knife fight.
I think he needs to write another article.
Where it's like, man, I was wrong.
Just to keep it consistent.
These poor. I really feel Elliot's nerve tests. Most of them have been like 5s and 4s and 3s, and
all being bad. Every single one.
It's rough. It's really hard to break units when you're rolling so low on nerve.
Hey, killed something.
There is a turn 7. But does it matter? I guess he gets a chance to pick up a couple more units for kill.
He can fire the cannon again.
That's right.
I mean, at this point, I now want it to keep missing because I want the averages to be even worse. Like the more rounds, it just keeps missing. It's funnier. Like if it hits now, it's like, oh, okay, whatever. But
Interesting from the errata, Tydarian Dragon Lord, that elf character dragon which nobody takes because it's terrible, has gained nimble and it's still terrible. So, right.
So Ryan's just not even caring about that center objective. Oh, is he going to care about that center objective? Yeah, he is. He's going to go grab it with the Phoenix. All the points. Ryan wants all the points.
And you have to give it to him. I mean, look at that. The scoring unit in the bottom, not a wound on it. Phoenix scoring. Most of his stuff still alive. Like he did really, really well here with utilizing what he needed to when he needed to. He deployed the tyrants behind that forest, and he has Pathfinder on him, so like he utilized that very, very well. That's like one of the units that could die early, being only defense 4.
But he took first turn and exposed the tyrants to both cannons. Just the cannons didn't take the target. Yeah. I don't know.
it is interesting in push when you look at the ancients and their sort of route across the battlefield, right? They went sort of right down the middle. They were a critical unit. Everyone knew that, and they are now just sort of sitting in basically Elliot's deployment zone, which is rough for an overall battle plan when you have nothing left in the unit that you were supposed to stop. Didn't even get tricky. It just went right down the middle and is there, untouched. So
Yeah.
but it's cool because this cannon is about to shoot something, right?
This is the turn, guys. This is the turn.
Yeah.
Does the Dwarf Lord go to try and pick up that other unit of tyrants? Does he have range?
I was just looking at that. I think he's well charged D3 in it, so if he rolls a 3 on it, he can.
He needs a 3.
Do it.
Roll before deciding, right? So
Yeah.
it's not like it's got anything else to do. So Riley's saying that the double explodey rats for the Ratkin slaves got nerfed. I don't really know.
Oh. Where you have the crystal pendant and their own rule.
Yeah, I think so. I think you only get one of them now. Which is funny because I didn't think Ratkin slaves were that big of a deal, and I thought actually the double explodey was kind of more funny than anything else.
I don't think there ever needs to be a nerf involved in the crystal pendant. It has always been crap. It's still crap. Making the unit which you get the points for when you kill it more expensive by having it, it's not.
And height 0 is now officially flat.
Good, because that was daft. I remember last edition playing a guy who put his Mastiffs on the hill and went, "Oh, I could shoot over them. The height 0." It's like, they're not the height 2 on the hill now. What? Yeah, your infantry can't shoot over them anymore because now they're both still on the hill. Like, yeah. Nah, I hated height 0. That was a daft rule.
Okay, so
The Dwarf Lord did go and pick up those tyrants.
Oh, what a hero!
No, it was a
did
pack
the
man.
did the cannon hit anything?
It did not. Oh, it hit once. Yeah, for 2 hits and did 2 wounds.
Yeah.
Double ones.
Did he did just double ones there. That's awesome.
Just salt in the wound.
It's the dagger.
And that's it. I imagine they're coming in now. Shouldn't even be a lot to add up there.
Okay, so we're gonna wait for those folks to come in. I mean, realistically, we've been killing a couple turns talking about errata and other things. It felt like there were a couple points where if things went right for Elliot, he would have a chance to sort of turn that around, and those things that were supposed to go right ended up being below average nerve rolls and cannons that I don't think were actually shooting cannonballs. I think they were just loading it with powder and sponges. So,
They're actually potato
but
guns.
what
as well.
was spud guns?
Yeah.
It's the So I know Tom in the beginning you sort of said you didn't like the list, you didn't like the deployment. So, but as you saw this sort of play out, kind of what went wrong? What went wrong for Tom, or I mean for Elliot that made a pretty bad end of game state? You know, when we look at it.
Well, I think I'd like to see him make use of the Pathfinder and Scout on the shield breakers to put the right side shield breakers in the wood. I'd have done a lot to stop the shooting coming in. They kept a bit of damage off of him. As a nice start, I'd have probably done that. The Ironclad could have sat behind that wall instead. It's only the Ironclad, the Iron Watch rifles. They'd have been doing something then at least. And again, the Greater Earth elemental character not pushing him up as aggressive as he really should to actually get into that combat earlier on. It's just 2 little things that had helped him on either flank, and where both flanks fell apart quite quickly.
Sure. Dan, thoughts on how that went? Either mistakes that Elliot made or things that could have gone different, or highlighting like good. We're talking a lot about mistakes Elliot made, but good play from Ryan to take advantage of all this.
Well, I think Ryan, like the big thing is I thought the Ancients was the best pick for the push tokens. Like I said, especially with the way that he threw the ceremonial guard over on an island, and that proved to be a big, like a defense 6 unit that's already slow anyways is just such a fantastic target for those loot tokens, especially when he had a decent amount of chaff over there to kind of. And obviously, Elliot didn't have a lot of shooting either, especially high piercing shooting other than the cannons to kind of deal with them. And then that coupled with the Phoenix hanging out nearby meant that unit was not going anywhere.
Got the amount of kills just come in as well. So Ryan killed 1920 and Elliot killed 1110.
So at 2,300 points, that's a full 5 for Ryan. So that Ryan got the full 25. Elliot, I think that's what, a +2, +3?
Just +3, I think. I'll have to double check.
That might be just a +3. So that puts
there was basically a cannon, a berserker lord, and a packmaster left on the board for him, right?
It's kind of where we thought it was. I think that we were all pretty clear. Oh, apparently it's a 24-8. I guess Ryan didn't quite get the full kill.
I think it's like 1930, 1945, something like that.
1920 I thought would be enough for the full kill.
I know I've been just short of that before.
Okay, so hopefully we're getting them in soon. Anyone sort of sticking around in the comments? Tom, why are you still awake? We have Riley. We have a couple others.
I think
if you have any questions,
I wanted to see Ryan win this game because he was mentioning earlier that Ryan already beat Adam Padley. Now he has beaten Elliot. So he's gone through like a gauntlet of Northern Kings players. So apparently he wants to see Tom Robinson, actually the granddaddy of the Northern Kings, face Ryan next.
Is
Look
that
at
because Tom? Is that because Tom doesn't want to play Tom? Like Tom Ennis doesn't want to play Tom Robinson, so he's hoping.
The Tom versus Tom matchup earlier.
Yeah, it's interesting. Elliot wasn't able to deal with the ceremonial guard, and it cost him that whole flank. In hindsight, those 2 loot tokens, and also the ability to kind of like swarm over to the center and kill the center. Had he been able to kill that ceremonial guard horde early, he would have maybe been able to do something, but he just didn't have anything on that flank to really deal with it.
Well, he didn't have enough focus fire. That's where we were talking about earlier. The cannon positioning behind the hill was a bit rough. It limited their fire arcs, and then the ceremonial guard just took advantage of that and kind of kept under the shadow of that hill, right?
And he didn't have enough combat to deal with it either. He kept running small, like the MSC units into it.
Yeah.
They're not going to kill it. You need like you need a 300 point unit plus some to threaten it in one turn, so that you can take out that heal capability he has, right?
Yeah.
I think you guys can actually hear me now.
Welcome,
Yep.
Ryan. We're just waiting for Elliot.
So congratulations on that. I think it's time that I should put up the official. Let me see what we got.
All right.
The official
I forgot to do it. Come
I hate
on.
dwarves.
Ryan.
Dwarves suck.
Ryan wins banner.
His dice were pretty bad.
Yeah, his nerve rolls especially, which is extremely
Only cannons
powerful, right? It was all 5s, 4s, and 3s, and even
Yeah.
a couple ones in there just for a kick in the nuts.
Except for my dragon. He killed my dragon, but other than that, his nerve rolls were just.
Yeah,
Every
I rolled an 8 twice on the dragon.
was a 4 or less on each dice.
Yeah.
So, Elliot, what do you think?
Dwarves suck. No, I don't want to take away from Ryan. Ryan played it really well. But yeah, that list just felt like you were playing with a hand tied behind your back. It's just hard going with dwarves. I want to say they're not, but they just are. They're hard. Didn't have the heal. Didn't have the speed. Didn't have the combat or the shooting. I'm not really sure what the dwarves do when you don't take all rocks and rocks. But yeah, I say I really don't want to take away from Ryan. He totally outplayed me there, and my dice didn't help. But yeah,
Yeah, we made a special banner just for you. It was
another crap and over. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I think I rolled an 8 twice on the dragon, and that was apparently like the peak of all nerve tests all game.
Yeah.
And then after that, and then obviously the cannons hit twice, I think 2 or 3 times. But apart from that, it was just appalling.
yeah. So,
I think it was 3 in
so
the end.
not to sort of rabbit hole on one thing, but there was a lot of commentary about the shooting choices during the game. Placement of the cannons, the shooting lanes, and then who you were targeting. So we were just wondering, were we all wrong? Did you have some master plan that just wasn't there? What was going on with the sort of shooting choices?
No particular master plan. The cannons placement was quite poor, and I put them down fairly early on. And I think so they were sort of limited in the number of shots they had. I mean, the ancients aren't a terrible target for the cannons. All you've got to do is hit with both of them once, and they're up to enough damage that you can, in theory, heal it all off straight away. But no, I mean, I played the shooting side of it poorly anyway. Even if things had hit more, there weren't great target choices. And then after that, it was trying to go for unit strength. I had a chance at a draw. I flew the Berserker over to block the middle token, and I only needed, I think, a 6 to waver the Horde, in which case I probably should have held out for a draw, but couldn't quite manage that. So yeah, the whole point really was to kill any kind of unit strength I could as much as possible. I always kind of knew the ancients were going to stay alive, and I was going to try and aim to get mine across the left-hand side, and then sneakily try and prevent the middle one. But yeah, it all failed miserably.
Okay. So it went well for you, Ryan. What do you think, particularly worked out from your plan that made you able to take away the victory?
I've played this list for every game so far, just because I want to, kind of test it out. And I really, the tyrants with the Ember sprites every game, there's so much board control. You push them up, and they threat up to 15 inches. Nobody wants to get hit by them, so they tend to hold back. So even for stuff like push, it's just, I don't know, my goal was to fight on his side, which I guess didn't happen on one of the sides, but with the ancient side, they did. The side with the 2 push tokens. I don't know. I didn't really have a plan, to be honest. I just kind of went in and I deployed in a plan where I wanted to fight, what units work together. And then, because I didn't know what he's going to do for a scout. I didn't know if he's going to be super aggressive or hold back. So I didn't really want to commit one way or the other.
Makes sense. Did anyone else from the panel have any questions for either of our generals today?
What was your guys' initial plan with when you placed your tokens on your units?
For me, they either go on the ceremonial guard or the ancients. And since he had Kragoth and the shield breakers on the left, I kind of felt like my dragon could hold back his Brock Riders on the right side, so I put him on the ancients.
Yeah, and hopefully, the hope that Kragoth could effectively endure everything and just try and sneak across the board at the last second. Really, I didn't want to put it on my right hand side because I'm so much slower than him that he can just push right up and then pin me in that corner the entire game. So if I had tokens, I could never really have put them on the right because I'd never have got out of my half of the board. So it had to really be Kragoth because that was the only place I had a bit of freedom to move. Just Rob, so.
Are you writing a retraction article? Is that next? Or
no, they're fine. I played them terribly, but they do need a bit of help, I think.
Absolutely.
What do you think about your list, Elliot, in hindsight after the game?
Say again, sir?
What did you think about your list in hindsight after the game?
I mean, I tried to take 3 dwarves without taking all rocks and rocks, so I don't think it's a bad attempt at doing that. I just think I think you're hindering yourself if you don't go down that particular route. Like the shield breakers are good, but they're just Kingdom and foot guard at the end of the day. Pathfinder's nice on them, but they're really slow and they have no threat projection at all. So you're taking choices that are fine, they're okay, but they're not excellent at anything, and everyone's a little bit better at you than everything. Things like that ceremonial guard horde is, I think, 30 or 40 points more expensive than a Shieldbreaker horde, but it's just better in pretty much every way. So yeah, it certainly wasn't an optimal list, and I'm definitely not experienced with dwarves. So just because I'm grumbling about them doesn't say that dwarves are terrible. It just means that I'm terrible using them.
It felt early on that Scout on the shield breakers was going to make some difference. I was impressed by the way you just moved forward in the first turn. I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool that dwarves can do that for a slow unit. That's very cool. But
yeah, it's a nice thing to get you over the wall. I suppose that the issue is you can move up, but then you can't put yourself in any kind of threat range because everything outspeeds you, including infantry. So it's a nice move, but it's a shame that the Mastiffs don't have Scout as well. Because then your chaff can't keep up with you.
Yeah, because they're such a big unit and they're only def 4.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for letting us stream your game. Good luck in the the future rounds. Elliot looking for a bounce back win, and Ryan, hope you are able to keep winning as you go into round 5. Thanks to thanks so much for letting us cover it and having this chat with you. Thanks so much to the commentators for both staying up late and getting up extremely early. And we will see you next time. Bye all.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
Bye. Thanks, guys.